Looking at society today, where are 99% of men leading women to? The bedroom. Okay. Where are 99% of men leading women to? The bedroom. Okay. Men don't even care to know who the woman is, her personality, beliefs, values, etc. As long as they get to blank her. The man in modern day society is the one who can quickly have sex with the girl. Women have noticed that men are leading them to the bedroom, so they too have become very sexual. Okay, first question. What's wrong with the bedroom? Is this guy traumatized? What, like, and 99%, how did you come up with that figure? You care to share that answer with the rest of the class? Because my hand is up. 99%? Am I one of the lucky 1% who don't use a woman just for sex? Am I the lucky out of the whole world of all men? Am I the fortunate 1%? Part of the 1%? You see how absurd this is, right? So, we have an emotionally negative triggered person here. All right? And he's just venting for some crazy reason, too. And like I said, I don't know what the problem is with the bedroom. It's kind of strange. I care entirely, 100% for her personality. That's what really turns me on. I don't know. I can't speak for all men, but I really hope that her personality turns you on as well. Because you can have fun with her body, and she can have fun with yours, in the bedroom, by the way, or on top of a washer machine for all I care. Wherever it may be, you guys can have fun. Physical pleasure is not something to be ashamed of. It should be glorified, celebrated. In fact, sexual compatibility is paramount to a lifelong healthy relationship. Otherwise, you're not going to be a happy camper, and neither will she. Sexuality is at the top of the pyramid, because that's how you bond the closest, is because the physical becomes mental and emotional. You see that? So 99% only leading women to the bedroom. Well, if you're talking about dating, that's just a game of failure after failure. You might get lucky and find the one, but good luck with that. Because I would dare say 99% of people, even if they think they're successful dating somebody and they turn it into a relationship, it's going to fail anyways, most likely. It might take 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But it's going to be a very difficult relationship because you guys are rushing the process of getting to know each other and just shooting in the wind, hoping that it's going to work out. More chances than not, it's not really. It's going to be a rocky road, and it won't work out. So then he says women are pretty much doing the same because the men are the ones to blame. Well, it takes two to tango, so as long as it's consensual, I don't see the problem with this. All right, so this guy is extremely triggered. I mean, I care about a woman's beliefs and values and her personality. I do care about her body and how, because you have to have chemistry. You have to have physical attraction. Anybody who says otherwise is a fool. They're lying to themselves and lying to the world. There's nothing wrong with physical attraction. It's extremely important. But so is personality, beliefs, values, and so much more. He said, etc. So, and I had to censor the F word here, as long as they get to F her. I mean, that says everything about his level of immaturity. It's through the roof. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? What a shame that we have garbage being spewed out there like this. You know, people are angry. That's fine. Go hit a punching bag. Go to the gym. Go breathe some fresh air. Go touch grass, as they say. You got to do something really productive and better with your life than to whine online 24/7. All right, second comment. Always admire the women who could have went cold after everything she's been through. but chose to love anyway. There's strength in that. You hit the bullseye. Yeah, I agree. Everybody has a reason that they could turn to the dark side and just be part of the problem and not the solution. Everybody, it's easy to hate, to be negative, to whine and complain, to sit there and smash that repeat button and do nothing about your life's problems, your miserable lifestyle, either alone and miserable or married and struggling with marital issues, or going out and getting your heart broken. Go get your heartbreak. Get some of that heartbreak. I know. It's easy to just say, the heck with it. I'm not going to try to solve my life's problems. Or you could sign up for free relationship coaching on my website and we can get started on that. Solutions to those problems. And, whenever I hear situationship instead of a relationship, or a sexless marriage, that's really sad. It's nothing to be proud of. That's not a life at all. I can tell you that. We could work on that, but it's up to you to take that first step. So yes, I agree with this comment here. We all have a choice, whether it's men or women, to turn to the dark side based off of these negative experiences that we most likely have encountered in our past. But you, not anybody else, you get to define how your life is going to be right now in the present moment. That's why they call it a present, because it's a gift. And your future. Or you could do the lazy thing and just moan and groan and complain and don't change anything. Let's go ahead and move on to the next comment, shall we? And it's not always hard to change. It just takes, maybe the first step might be a little hard. You'll get used to it. And you'll feel better once you take more steps. No woman just wakes up and decides to be distant, cold, guarded, and toxic. That attitude you see, that tone in her voice, that wall she built, it came from somewhere, from betrayal, from being lied to, disrespected, and let down too many times. Women are naturally loving and soft. But if you keep hurting someone who only wanted to love you right, don't be surprised when that love becomes protected. Okay, well the same could be said about men. No man wakes up and decides to be distant, cold, guarded, or toxic. You see what happens? It always works both ways. So I don't know why you're emphasizing women. There's plenty of women who are victims of dangerous relationships, abusive relationships, and just negative ones that just didn't work out. And there are plenty of men who went through the same or similar. So I don't know why you're emphasizing women, but okay. Just know it can work both ways. I don't like the fact that he says here, women are naturally loving and soft. Well, so are men. The ones who try to act hard like they don't have any emotions, those are just goofballs. They know deep down inside that they would love to just be vulnerable and express themselves freely without having to be judged by being soft, quote unquote. There's nothing soft about being warm and kind. That's what a real man is supposed to be. Sure, there's a time to be brave and bold. And women should be the same. Mature people, wise people, they see men and women as real equals. They expect maturity, intelligence, wisdom, lots of love and compassion, soft side, and a courageous side, and a lot more. But it's too much to go over for this one. So, there's a lot of hurt out there. There's a lot of toxicity, not just against women, but against men too. And a lot of men suffer in silence, and they never open up about it. But there's always a choice. Like I said before, it's your choice what you do now and forever. But you have to take that first step. I can't take it for you. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? Who can explain why so many men continue to take dating advice from other men, but downright refuse to listen to women? Well, I can explain it. If you are trying to attract a woman, wouldn't it make sense for you to take dating advice from a woman? Oh, I can only assume men who continue to do this is because they are really only concerned about another man's opinion of them, not a woman's, which means they probably shouldn't be pursuing women. What are you talking about? This is horrible right here. All right, let's go ahead and break it down, right? Really quick. What's wrong with men giving other men advice about women? What's wrong with women giving other women advice about men? I agree that the only people you should primarily listen to depends on the substance, right? The context, everything. The information being conveyed, the messages. I agree that you should listen to successful women who have found nice, powerful men in their own regard, whatever their features may be. Happy women, right? Should only listen to advice from happy women. Not the miserable ones who are on social media 24/7 spewing out their misery and sadness. And the same applies to men. I'm a happy man giving useful advice to other men and women. So riddle me that. What's wrong with me giving advice to men and women? Is there some type of rule out there that says I'm not allowed to do so and neither are you? Or are you proposing that men only listen to women and women only listen to men? Makes no sense. Women talk about men all the time. Men talk about women all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's refusing to listen to women and their advice about relationships. There are a lot of women coaches out there, therapists, a lot of them, and a lot of different professions. And there's a lot of men too. So this is yet another ignorant statement here saying that, no, you can't do this. You have to do this because I say so. Well, you're assuming that men don't have good advice for other men in order to find a good woman. That's ridiculous. So then what does that say about the men who have successfully found good women? Does that mean they don't know what they're talking about? That's absolutely ridiculous. But have to go over these because that's what's out there. Lots of ignorance, unfortunately. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Society tells men, be polite, be harmless, be agreeable, be soft-spoken. That's because weak men are easy to control. Powerful men get hated, attacked, and misunderstood. But weak men, they always get ignored. No, not always. I mean, it's in our human nature to be polite. We want to be polite. We don't want to cause trouble. Now, be harmless? Well, it depends. Are we in a self-defense scenario? Do we have to put somebody in their place verbally? You know, there's physical and verbal cases where you have to be harmful because, you know, violence begets more violence, but sometimes it's justified. Otherwise, we wouldn't have police or military or self-defense karate lessons, whatever it may be. You know, it's just, and be agreeable. Well, there's debates. They don't agree with each other, but they agree to debate about it, to disagree. And soft-spoken, sometimes you have to speak loud and clear. No, so society tells men and women a bunch of these things. None of this is concrete. We all want to be polite to each other, but there's some times where we have to match somebody's disrespectful, impolite behavior with the same. Fight fire with fire. It's just a means of defense. You don't have to, but if you're forced to, if you want to, you're free to do so as long as you don't cross the line into something dangerous and harmful. Which goes with the second thing you pointed out, be harmless. It depends. You know, you can't make a blanket statement like this with these multiple points saying, society tells men to be polite, harmless, agreeable, soft-spoken, to be weaklings. That's not true. That is not true. I'm sitting here telling all men and women to, yes, be polite, but be confident, be courageous, be smart, intelligent, be wise, to think things through before you do them, to plan ahead, to think ahead, to ponder, to be grateful. And the list goes on. I don't know which society you live in, but I've heard a lot of people put out good information and good advice, good resources to follow. I've written my own book. I've created my own video course. Free memberships for free relationship coaching. So again, I don't know which society that you're talking about, but there's always going to be toxic people in any society. Lots of toxic people. And that, unfortunately, the toxic people are the weak people. They look like they're strong. They sound like they're strong. But it all depends on context, intent. Are they trying to do harm on others? Or are they trying to move others by uplifting their spirits, giving them confidence? It's all about context. So this statement here is not true. Powerful men get hated? No, real women, not toxic women, they want a powerful man. They adore them. They desire them. They don't attack them. They don't misunderstand them. They support them. Now, the toxic women are not going to support powerful men. They're going to be hating on them, attacking them because they're jealous of their strength. At that point, it's not even gender specific. It's just about who has power and who doesn't. Normally, those who don't have power want to sit there and moan and groan and complain about it and don't empower themselves. They don't learn from the examples set forth before them. No. So, getting ignored, strong and weak men get ignored. It depends who you're talking about, who's doing the ignoring. Speaking of ignoring, this is a very ignorant statement here. And you list it off as if it's factual when it's not. Okay. Oh my goodness. This seems to be the biggest comment of the series, of the entire series. Let's go ahead and have a look. Sometimes that crazy ex-girlfriend who's acting psycho is really the victim telling the truth about her abuser. People are so quick to label a woman as crazy, bitter, or obsessed when she finally speaks out. They roll their eyes, call her dramatic, say she can't move on. But what if what she's saying isn't drama? It's evidence. What if her anger is pain? What if her obsession is trauma trying to find closure that never came? Narcissists are masters of reputation management. They know how to twist a story before anyone else hears it. So while she's breaking down, trying to explain what really happened, he's already out there telling people she's unstable, jealous, and vindictive. By the time she speaks, her credibility has already been poisoned. He's calm, charming, and believable. She's emotional, desperate, and dismissed. And society tends to believe the calm one, even when the calm one is the abuser. What people don't see is what she went through behind closed doors, the gaslighting, the manipulation, the lies, the isolation. They don't see the hundreds of times she forgave, the nights she cried, the confusion she lived in every day. They only see the aftermath, the broken version of her that's trying to make sense of the damage. So yes, sometimes that crazy ex isn't crazy at all. She's traumatized. She's reacting to months or years of psychological abuse that no one believed while it was happening. She's fighting to be heard after being silenced for too long. Her emotions aren't proof of instability. They're evidence of survival. Before judging her, ask why she's acting that way. Ask what she's been through, because narcissists leave chaos in their wake. And when the truth finally comes out, it rarely looks calm. Sometimes the one screaming the loudest isn't unstable. She's just the only one brave enough to tell the truth. So remember, the crazy ex story often has two sides, and the one who looks the most composed is usually the one who caused the storm. Yes. Okay, so she's saying there's two sides to every story. But there's one main flaw. Regardless, you could have written a book about this person, and I don't know if it's about you yourself, because it sounds very accurate, but regardless of who it is, there's one constant. Regardless of how much trauma, i.e. abuse, for instance, that one's been through, you still have to remain composed. It doesn't give you the green light to behave psychotically, to behave like a complete psychopath. All right? In many cases, that's not an exaggeration, calling somebody a psychopath, because they're allowing themselves to become what they shouldn't become. And what I'll say is, if you didn't seek help during the abuse, then now you're complicit rather, in your own unfortunate future circumstances, which this person most likely found herself in, ending up becoming a quote-unquote psycho. Now, the bad thing about this is that she didn't go through examples of why this person's being called crazy or obsessed. See, that's my main concern right there. You're literally telling us half of the story. What if she really does have a lot of culpability? What if it wasn't just 100% abuse? Because there's cases. There's cases where things escalate between the man and the woman, regardless if they're married or not. They're in a relationship. And it's not always the abuser's fault. Now, if that is the case, then I got it. She is a victim of abuse, and she ended up becoming quote-unquote crazy. And everybody, there shouldn't be one person who shouldn't sympathize with that possibility and likelihood. That's pretty typical, but there are many cases where the person, the victim, actually either instigated it or was a part of it in some way. Maybe they're just as abusive to their spouse or their partner. And we have to take that into account. So this is not a case-by-case analysis, but this particular case would have to be fully assessed to see what exactly happened. But in the case of an ex, okay, I don't know who's calling her crazy. Is that just strangers judging from the outside looking in? Because this comment here leaves out a lot to be figured out. There's too many pieces of this puzzle missing, because she's saying, well, she's not crazy at all. People think that she's crazy. And all she gave us here is people are so quick to label a woman as crazy, bitter, or obsessed. Well, which is it? Where's the defense? Because you're saying that her anger and trauma are excused as pain and obsession and closure that never came. There's so many missing ends to this description and this comment. We understand that narcissists are masters of reputation management, yada yada. They always tell the lies first. They tend to scream the loudest. We know that. But what we don't know is more about the victim in this case. You know, you're saying by the time she speaks, her credibility has been poisoned. No, I'm pretty sure that everybody wants to hear her side of the story. If, you know, I can't imagine a scenario where she would have to explain it to people in the first place. Maybe friends and family who care, who are trying to judge to see, okay, what happened? Who's culpable? What happened, right? And then the narcissistic abuser is pretending to be the good guy when he's actually the bad guy. Yes, that's a possibility. But also realize that the victim, the person acting like a victim, the psychopath that you're describing here, could actually be the narcissistic abuser and painting her husband or her ex-boyfriend, it doesn't matter, her ex, as the abuser, when in reality, she's the abuser. So detecting who's the narcissist, who the narcissist really is a bit tricky. We need all the missing pieces of the puzzle. So you can't go on social media spewing all this out. You have to be, look, it's a long comment, but you have to provide every single missing piece of the puzzle, at least 90% of it. Because dealing with narcissists is very tricky. Because dealing with liars, you need to hear, that's why we have court cases. They say the devil's in the details. It's no different when dealing with a narcissistic abusive case. Because you're saying here the gaslighting, manipulation, the lies, and isolation. Can you give us some examples? The hundreds of times she forgave. You know, if it, like I said before, if it is a classic case of narcissistic abuse, and it is the way the victim says it is, so be it. But I have to leave this comment where it is a huge question mark. And why would anybody label her as crazy? Because as I began explaining this, if she's behaving in a way that's only going to make her look worse, make a bad situation worse than what it already is, then she's already doing a disservice to her in the present and in the future. And she's going to find it very difficult to find anybody to help her in her case, because all they can go by is what they see before them. That's the evidence. So I guess I can actually spin this to say the best advice I can give anybody in this type of situation is to don't become the very thing that abused you, that attacked you, right? So because if you're acting like a psycho, like a crazy lady, or a man, because there's a lot of males who are also victims of narcissistic abuse, then you're going to start to look, as she pointed out here, just as crazy as the abuser, because now the abuser is going to take advantage of your erratic behavior and act like the calm one and actually be believed thanks to your erratic behavior. So always remain calm. I know it's not going to be possible in all cases, but that's your best weapon. Understand? That's your best weapon and best defense. You have to try to control your emotions, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, all that negative energy. Otherwise, yes, you're going to be seen as the crazy one, the psychopath. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I don't know who's culpable. I don't know who the real victim is. If there's shared culpability, if you guys are both guilty of something that led up to this enormous explosion of an incident or various incidents. So this lady here is saying, you know, don't judge her as crazy. You know, there's chaos and narcissists and, you know, the loud one. And the truth is, the matter of the fact is, we don't know the rest of the story. So this long comment, as long as it is, it's not long enough. And I'm not asking for her to write a book either. I just need some crucial missing pieces of the puzzle here. I need examples. Why is she being called crazy? What kind of abuse did she go through? Because you said isolation, the lies and manipulation, but anybody can throw that to the other person. And that's normally what people pretending to be a victim do. There's a lot of people who pretend to be the victim of abuse when either they're the real gaslighters or abusers. There's a lot of cases, but like I said before, and this is the last time I'll say this, if she's a real true victim, I feel bad for her. I hope I wish her the best. But you guys got to keep an open mind. When you see stuff like this on social media, keep an open mind that, yeah, like she said, this is one side of the story, but you're not really telling it the way you should. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? And this has to be on this show because there are real psychopaths out there, narcissists in the dating realm. That's why I say stay out of the dating realm. Just befriend somebody. Whatever happened to that? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the second comment, shall we? So there's this guy on Threads, that's a social media platform, who ranted about his ex-girlfriend being so demanding that she even asked him to buy her an iPhone 15. Wow, okay. His post went viral, and I've seen a lot of women commenting, just find a woman you can afford. Wow. And honestly, I had to pause for a moment. Do we really think it's okay to demand expensive things from a boyfriend and then judge him if he can't give them? That kind of mindset says more about us than it does about him. Ladies, please, let's not normalize this. We don't need to put a price tag on ourselves or make love look like a transaction. Gifts are sweet, but demanding them isn't. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from buying what you want with your own money, not your boyfriend's. Okay, but all right, well, this is pretty much common sense. All right, this is toxic behavior. His ex-girlfriend demanding that he buy her an iPhone 15. Well, that's about $1,000, I believe, if I'm correct. Pretty expensive these days. I think we're on the 17 now, but regardless. All right. So just find a woman you can afford. So yeah, that's the real disturbing part are the people saying just find a woman you can afford. What's her, is she high maintenance? Well, if you have the money to spoil your girlfriend or spouse, then by all means go ahead. But just keep in mind that if she's a toxic person and wants to take full advantage of you and then leave you later, well, you're going to have to be the judge of that. The signs will be there. But if she's honestly grateful by the gifts that you provide her and you want to spoil her, then go ahead. But you shouldn't have to afford love. There's a famous song called Money Can't Buy You Love, right? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, you can call prostitution love, but I beg to differ. That's not love at all. That's just temporary satisfaction going nowhere. Now you have to sing the song from the Rolling Stones, Can't Get No Satisfaction, because it's not a real relationship. So no, money can't buy you love, and that's why just find a woman you can afford, that shouldn't even be uttered at all. You shouldn't be able to imagine if you turned the tables. Just find a man you can afford. It doesn't make sense. So if it doesn't make sense one way or another, it shouldn't make sense. And it shouldn't even be said. And I think that covers that, because that's just ridiculous. A transactional relationship is pretty much an abusive relationship. The only exception is, like I said, if you're a very wealthy person and you want to spoil your partner, then have at it. That's at your discretion. All right, next comment. And suddenly I don't want to be anyone's girlfriend anymore. I realized how much of myself I lost when I kept lowering my standards for someone who never saw my worth. I accepted less just to feel close to him, made excuses for things that hurt me, and stayed quiet just to keep the peace. I thought love meant holding on, but it only left me feeling empty. Now I know I don't want to beg for love or lose myself trying to make someone stay. I'd rather be alone than feel unwanted by someone. Okay, nobody's arguing with that. But, take time off, recuperate, recover, heal, but don't stay alone forever, because now you're going to be a loser. You're losing in life. You're not winning, okay? You got burnt once. Learn from your mistakes, trusting the wrong person, and move on to somebody who does deserve your love. Because if you stay and rot away at home all alone, you're going to regret it. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, even 40 years down the road. How many people on their deathbeds ultimately regret the poor decisions that they made, the life, the time that they've wasted when they could have done better? You don't want to be that person. Full of regret. Regret is the last emotion that you'll feel with that last breath. Don't do it. You're still young, I bet. If you're energetic, get over it. Take like a year max or 2 years, however much time you need, but don't take more than that, because you're just wasting time. Enjoy solidarity, time alone, heal, but get back in there, because you deserve better. And if you think you don't, then now you're the problem. Because you were never going to make it in the first place with a low level of confidence like that. I'm sorry, it's a tough love, but Got to show you some tough love to motivate you. Otherwise, you're going to end up a loser. And you don't deserve that, right? Because if you would have won, right, in the realm of love, then you wouldn't be saying things like that. Not going to lie. It's embarrassing to be like 30 plus talking about your boyfriend or girlfriend. At the age of 40, you have aged out of boyfriend-girlfriend talk. Just don't even talk about them until it's a husband or wife. Oh, stop it. Like, stop it. Seriously. You're going to tell people what they can and can't say? If I call my significant other anything I want, a term of endearment, my girlfriend even, and we're married, who are you to tell us what we can and can't say based off of our age? That's called ageism. And that's called wanting to be a dictator, a wannabe dictator. How about, no, I'm not going to lie, but you have a lot of growing up to do. That is, if you ever do. You're nobody to tell anybody else, regardless of their age, what they can and can't say. The beauty of freedom is that the choice lies in your hands. Your future, your present lies in your hands. So you're not going to go around saying, grow up. You sound miserable. You need to go touch some grass. All right, so last comment, 60-something here, and wondering how people deal with loneliness. Husband has passed, kids all grown up. I moved several times and can't seem to find a new community. I've done all the hobbies, meetups, volunteering as recommended, but people don't seem to need new friends. I'm doing something wrong but can't figure it out. Advice or insight? Yes! You didn't move on with your life. Stop it! You weren't born to waste your precious life with new friends and trying to fit in and kill time. Netflix and chill at home with the pet. Stop it. You need to stay alive. You need to be alive, feel alive. You're dying. You're killing yourself with this poor attitude. 60-something, how healthy are you? You're only as old as how you feel inside. You got that? If you're going to hang the hat and then just crawl into that coffin you call a home, all alone. I mean, look at the background I have here. Alone and miserable. That wasn't put there as accident. It's not an accident. It was not put there by accident. All right. You can just shrivel up like a prune and die twice in life. First you die from the inside, then you actually die. Go talk to some sexy 60-something-year-olds or even 50-something-year-olds. If you still look attractive, they'll find you attractive. And by golly, if you have some wrinkles on your face that are excusable, let me put it this way. If a man still finds you attractive, you still have a chance. What you don't want to do is go play, hey, I need some friends so I can talk about my past and live in the past and worry about the future and talk about our worries. Stop it. Don't do it. That's my best advice for you. And like I said, you're only as old as how you feel inside. So you need to get over it. You're doing ageism on yourself. You need some confidence. Go to the gym. Lift some weights. You don't have to lift the heaviest weights. Eat more nutritionally. This is a self-defeatist mindset. This is a negative self-defeatist mindset here. Hey guys, you know anywhere where I can just pretty much waste my time and fill in all the blanks that I need to fill by having a loving partner by my side? Because, you know, well, now I will respect her by saying this. I'm going to be a little bit more respectful because I think she deserves it. If your husband passed away and you guys had an agreement that whoever went first, the one who's left behind will not be seeing anybody, I respect that. I really do. And that's the only exception that I'll put. But I just think it's so sad because if I went first, I don't think it would hurt anymore for me if my partner found somebody else. But if I was still alive, of course it would. So I actually wrote about this in my book. And I couldn't go any further with it because it's all at your discretion. So I'm not going to take back any words that I said. I was just trying to motivate this 60-something-year-old. I really am. Because when your partner loves you with all their heart and soul, you want them to always be happy. You don't want them to suffer when you're gone, if you're gone. But it's a controversial topic. It really is. It does need to be fleshed out, if it can. That was actually the most difficult part in my book. And if you're interested in grabbing a copy, become a free member on my website. I'll let you know how. But with that said, I really feel bad for her, but I don't want her to feel bad. I don't want her to go through loneliness. That's the worst thing in this life. When people living in denial saying they're happy living alone, when you know they're not. They're going to say they're happy. I love playing my video games, watching my movies, Netflix and chill, feeding my pet every day. Hey, pets are okay. But when they replace a partner that you're supposed to have by your side, even your kids, they're all grown up, they're gone. They'll visit you from time to time, but it's natural. They have lives to create on their own, right? But it's just so sad because, they're forgotten. Older people, elder people, they're just forgotten and they're left to their own demise. I don't like that. I'm against that. So get together if that's your agreement that you had with your late husband. Get together with other people who are like-minded. They don't have to be of the same age. And if you didn't have that agreement with your husband, your late husband, then yeah, it's time for you to find a new partner. And it's not replacing your late husband. That's why I said it's a controversial topic. You're not replacing them. Your new partner should respect their memory. And that's a tough thing to do. It really is. But that's for a later date to talk about. That's for another time. For now, that's all the advice I have for you. I'm 21 and I do OnlyFans. For those of you who don't know what OnlyFans is, pretty much a pornographic option for people who subscribe to you on OnlyFans. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just another site for personal use of that kind. People assume I have plenty of dating experience and that it's super easy for me to date. The truth is, I've been single for more than 3 years. I don't make content with other people, and I only had 2 boyfriends all my life. Besides OnlyFans, I have a full-time job. I work 60 hours a week. And I'm looking for a serious relationship. Would anyone actually date a girl like me? Sure. Why not? You've been alone for sufficient time, 3 years. It sounds like you do want something serious. OnlyFans has absolutely nothing to do with someone that you're interested in. They should be absolutely okay with it. If you want to show your private bits to a bunch of subscribers, that's not a relationship at all. That's a money-making option. And anyone that is upset with one's freedom to utilize OnlyFans or another pornographic website is extremely immature and ignorant, to say the least. Because I can say a lot more about such people. There is absolutely nothing wrong with OnlyFans or pornographic websites that you want to take part in. That's your business. And there are millions upon millions of people that enjoy watching pornography, including OnlyFans. And that should be respected, because we either have freedom in this world or we don't have freedom. Because this person wants to ban this and limit that. You can't satisfy everybody in this world. If you're offended by OnlyFans or pornography, you need to grow up. If you ever do. You need to get over that. It's extremely immature and ridiculous. Anybody can be upset about anything in this world. So, hey, if they're making money off of OnlyFans, good for you. Because now more than ever, with the economies that we have worldwide, good for you. But it's not like you're prostituting your body physically in reality. You're talking about virtual. It's not even virtual reality. I mean, you can call it that. There's no reality about that. It's all virtual. So there's nothing wrong with OnlyFans. I wanted to really nail that in. It's called freedom. So, you do work a lot, 60 hours a week. Okay. So if you want a serious relationship, then that person that you should befriend, you should seek a male friend. Don't jump into dating because that's ridiculous. That's rushing things. Get to know somebody because you only had 2 boyfriends. That's okay. That's good. You know, there's nobody's judging body count here. Unless you've had dozens and dozens of boyfriends and it's gone sexual, well then yeah, it might be a little bit of a concern because there's so much failure. But no, you're fresh. You're a 21-year-old and clearly comfortable with her own body. That's great. You know, good for you. A lot of women and men do self-pleasuring. They don't do OnlyFans or pornography. That's fine. You know, you have to seek sexual pleasure solo in that case until you find somebody who's interested in making sweet love together with you. But you can't rush that. Because once you start rushing into relationships that get sexual way too fast, yeah, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks. It's going to be a rocky road, and you don't want that. So yes, a friend of the opposite sex, just start with that. My name is so-and-so. You don't have to bust out the OnlyFans detail. That's your private matter. Unless the relationship starts getting serious, which is what you want, yes, that conversation should come up later on. But I'll tell you one thing, it's a great way of filtering out the immature men out there. If they have a problem with your OnlyFans, and things are just getting started, yeah, you should avoid them. They're actually doing you a favor by exposing themselves as ignorant and immature if they're against OnlyFans. Or pornography in general. You don't want somebody immature. You want a real man who's going to tell you, yeah, sure, that's okay. You know, you're free to do with what your body, with what you want, as long as, you know, you're dedicated to me. Those guys are just giving you money online. Yeah, okay. And, you know, a lot of people want to, you know, argue from a moral standpoint. You know, that's between couples. Let them figure it out. It depends. What's their degree of morality? Their compass, their moral compass. Do they both find pornography and OnlyFans offensive or immoral? Which I personally find ridiculous. But yes, eventually when you fall in love with the person, you don't really want to do OnlyFans anymore is what I would assume. I would hope. But if you guys are, you know, starving for cash to survive together as a couple, I don't see the problem. Go ahead and do OnlyFans together if you guys are open-minded. There's no problem with that. So I have to talk about OnlyFans and pornography so much because she mentions it. She's scared to think, uh-oh, what if a guy doesn't like that? Well, you're into it. And guess what? In this life, you have to find like-minded people, especially a potential partner. So, in conclusion for this one, young lady, take things nice and slow. It's great that you don't have that much experience with boyfriends, but you have a whole life ahead of you. So don't rush. Find that mature man who doesn't mind what you love to do. OnlyFans. Because I'll tell you what, if I was single, I wouldn't mind. We're just getting to know each other. And would I ask you to stop doing OnlyFans later on in our relationship? No. As long as it's strictly virtual and you and I are having the time of our lives, of course, the jealous ones, the ignorant and immature guys who don't deserve to be called real men, they're going to be like, oh, you're a simp. Not the last time I checked, because she loves me with all of her heart and soul and I do to her. And I give her the freedom to do as she pleases with her body if she wants to show it off online. That's your choice. What if I was the one with OnlyFans and she wasn't? Well, then I expect her to be mature and respect that decision because it makes money. You know, it's so ridiculous. The only thing OnlyFans is about is making money and showing off your body. How harmless is that? At least, she's not prostituting herself on the streets for real. Once again, people are free to do with their bodies as they wish. So that's just the uncomfortable truth that I'll have to accept. And if you feel the same way about OnlyFans and pornography, well, that's an uncomfortable truth for you that you should have to accept. Because it's either freedom or nothing. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? So much more I can say about that, but that's pretty much the gist. All right. Underrated relationship advice. Well, we'll see about that. Have separate friend groups. You need stories to share, experiences to discuss, perspectives to bring home. Couples who do everything together have nothing to talk about. What? What are you talking about? I do everything with my partner. What are you talking about? I love doing everything I can with my partner. What? Have nothing to talk? That means we have plenty to talk about. This is ridiculous. Underrated. This is garbage relationship advice so far. Pure garbage. Independence makes interdependence possible. Okay. Space creates closeness. Not always. Not most of the time. If you guys want to miss each other a little bit, okay. It could make you guys, grow closer. But that should not be the main catalyst by any means. You can't miss someone who never leaves. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you love them with all of your heart and soul, when they finally do leave, you're just itching for them to come back, and it's not being needy either. Maintain your individuality. It makes the partnership stronger. Okay, what do you mean by individuality? Staying apart on purpose? There's already enough to be distant from what people, if the guy works a full-time job and she's a stay-at-home wife, you guys are already separated plenty for the entire day. So when you get home, oh, hey, honey, I'm going to go out with the guys and go drink beers at a bar or go watch the game, and you're not coming along with me because, hey, we need to create some more space. You guys already have enough space. Genius. Captain Obvious. This is not underrated relationship advice. This is garbage relationship. This is not even relationship advice. This is just pure garbage. This belongs in the dumpster. Set that thing on fire. Perspectives to bring home. Experiences to discuss. When you're in a relationship, you have to do everything together. Go shopping together. Eat together. Sleep together. What's wrong with these types of people who don't deserve to be called real men? This is like, how much more separation? We already have enough separation in reality as it is. Especially with dual working couples. You guys are separated for hours throughout the entire day. Is that not enough space? Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to hopefully a more mature comment, shall we? Wow, unbelievable. Would you date someone outside of your race? If you haven't and you would, what's stopping you? What? Well, look, when it comes to race, nobody's a racist when they say, I'm only attracted to white women. I'm only attracted to black men. I'm only attracted to Hispanics, Asians, what have you. Different ethnicities. Whatever floats your boat. Nobody's a racist for, staying within their race because that's what they're attracted to. It depends what you're attracted to. I mean, trying to be with somebody else just because of their race is like voting for somebody to be president just because they're black or white or male or female. I don't care about that. I care about what do they promise to do to the nation for the better. Are they somebody who's going to help us and not just stand up there and say, I'm black, I'm white, I'm a woman, I'm a man. Okay? How does that help the world? That doesn't. You see? That's like if you go to a movie theater and, you're not going to see the movie that you went to go see because people are like, well, this is the most famous movie right now. You should come watch this movie because everybody else is watching it. No, excuse me, I only came to watch the non-popular movie because that's what I want to watch. Okay, so whatever float your boat, right? Whatever floats your boat. Would you date somebody outside of your race? Like, who cares? If you haven't, and you would, you would, but why should you? I'm gonna really just I'm gonna laugh a lot with this comment. Let's go ahead and move on. I actually that might be the most ridiculous comment I've seen in the entire series so far. All right, men only. How do you feel about women sliding in your DM? All right, for those of you who don't know what a DM is, it's a direct message in a social media app. Okay, I do have to say that because not everybody likes technology these days. You'd be surprised. Do you feel like they are too aggressive? Do you feel like when they do, they should always take you on the first date? Who's going on a first date? Why? I'm kind of lost here. Okay, a woman sliding into your DM. You mean just to direct message the guy? Okay, I know it's a slang like I'm gonna slide into your DMs. There's nothing slick about it. Either you direct message someone or you don't. So we got that out of the way. Okay, so how do you feel about a woman sending you a message online? Okay, do you feel like they are too aggressive? Well, no, they're not. They're just sending you a message. They should really get offline and go meet a guy offline the way it's supposed to be. It's not traditional. That's the only way love really works. If you're messing around online, you're wasting time of your life. Technology has its place. I'm not anti-technology. I just know that it's not going to work most likely. Maybe even 90-something% of the time. And even if you get lucky, if you slide that DM and they say yes, let's go meet at such and such place, it doesn't matter. See, you have to meet offline anyway. Do you see what's happening there, genius? Do you feel like when they do, they should also take you on the first date? It doesn't matter who takes who on the first date. You guys shouldn't even be dating in the first place and messing around with DMs. I could save you guys a lot of most likely heartbreak and life-wasting hours, days, months, maybe even years of playing this game of DMing people and dating. I could save you all of that by just telling you, go meet somebody of the opposite sex and establish a solid friendship. If that doesn't make sense to you, then nothing ever will. Of real world intelligence. The only formula that works in this world is getting to know somebody offline. Stop playing games online. Grow up, get mature, and get offline. Go do it face to face with somebody that you find attractive. If they're taken, move on to somebody else. Don't get attached with the image. Don't hope that they're going to cheat on their partner. Don't hope that they maybe change their mind and lie to you that they're not with anybody, but they really want to be with you and then leave the other person. You know, you see what I'm saying here? It's a no-brainer. But people who ask these questions, whether it's men or women, it's downright exposing themselves as not grown up. No courage, no wisdom. All right. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? Last comment of the show. Question for the men. Okay, another men-only comment. Because I need y'all to be so for real. Okay, so looks like men are not always for real, I guess. After my ex and I ended things, we would still be physical, touching, kissing, doing everything but have sex. And his reasoning was that he didn't want to catch things, catch feelings or fall back in love again. What is that? Well, that's a loser. And you're being a loser by staying with such a guy. Because a real man and a real woman don't play silly little games like this. Friends with benefits, F buddies. They don't do that. and you shouldn't either. It's not too late to become a winner and actually have a real working relationship offline. Okay? Because you're saying here, after my ex and I ended things. Okay, he was an ex for a reason. It's called terminal. It's termination. Ex. He's been excommunicated. It's over. So if you're going to go back to a failed relationship, you reap what you sow. And you can't really sow anything here. Because it's over. It's destroyed. It's torn. There's nothing left to work with. But you're picking up the pieces, trying to put what maybe something was back together again. How do you think that's going to go? Look at how it's already going. You see what I mean when people lack wisdom and intelligence. So she's back with her ex, physically touching, kissing, and doing everything but sex. Well, there's your answer. Catch feelings or fall back in love again. So you already know that he's going to be unfaithful to you because he's not interested in feelings with you again, falling back in love. So what are you doing? And why do you have to ask men only the answer to this question? I'll be completely real with you. You're just as immature and a loser as the guy, the ex, your ex. You guys are extremely immature, fooling around, and you're surprised that he would say, oh, but yeah, we can't have sex because, we might fall back in love. He has no idea what love is, and neither do you. Men think nice women are stupid and easy to manipulate. Wow. Well, that's quite a stupid comment. I don't see who you're trying to manipulate because men are going to laugh at that. Real men. The toxic men, they might actually agree with you. And the same could be said for toxic women out there who think nice guys are stupid and easy to manipulate. It always works both ways. So your opinion is not unpopular. It's popular amongst toxic women who say this. I mean, you're saying men as in all men. So, yeah, this is quite a stupid comment. Easy to manipulate. Why would a nice guy want to manipulate a nice woman? Riddle me that. It shouldn't be too hard for you to figure that out. Here's a general rule of thumb, in case you've missed it, because I think you really missed it in life. Nice people want to treat other people politely. Toxic people want to treat others impolitely. Or they want to treat others politely and just to be able to manipulate them. What you're describing here. Okay, that doesn't mean all men are like that, and it doesn't mean all women are like that either. So I'm sorry to have to paint it to you so red and blue, so black and white, but that's the way it is in life. So you're only exposing yourself by saying men as in all men. You're being the toxic one here, meaning the stupid one. So you should educate yourself. This is not how life works. You can't go off on social media or hopefully offline as well and start saying men this, men that, because everybody's going to look at you, the nice guys and the nice women, and they're going to feel pity for you because that's something so ignorant to say, that men in general want to manipulate nice women and that they think that they're stupid. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Wow. Can't believe that such ignorant comments exist these days, but they unfortunately always will, I guess. All right, no one talks about how exhausting and boring it is to have every guy on a dating app say, "Hi, how are you? What are you up to? Any fun plans this weekend? How was your day? Either have substance or leave me alone." Small talk is boring and low effort. Show that you actually want to get to know people. Okay, well, that's another reason why you shouldn't be using dating apps. Now, by the way, even if you try to have a conversation with the guy offline, you might actually get the same thing. Maybe it's raining outside. Hey, tough weather, huh? There's nothing wrong with small talk. I mean, if you're already getting annoyed by small talk, you probably shouldn't be trying to look for somebody to be with. It sounds like you have a lot of anxiety and some issues to work out, because a real potential relationship, it requires an enormous amount of patience, but in a good way, because you want to get to know each other. You don't mind small talk. You don't mind having the same types of conversations. I mean, imagine spending a whole lifetime with a person in a truly loving relationship and saying, can we skip the small talk? I don't want to talk about this. Doesn't sound like love. Love is everything. If you love to hear that your partner says I love you every single day, why don't you tell them, you know what, that's annoying, stop saying that. You're saying the same thing. No, you like it, don't you? Everybody likes it. If you don't like it, you have mental and emotional issues. You need to talk to a psychologist about that. So small talk, especially when you don't really know each other, that's absolutely required. You guys got to talk about something. How are you supposed to get to know each other? Now, granted, if that's all you guys have in the tank is small talk and nothing of real substance, deeper conversations as the relationship between acquaintance, develops, then yes, it's going to become a little bit concerning, but maybe it's because one or both of you are too shy. It's not necessarily anything to deal with your level of intelligence. I mean, speaking is just as emotional as it is mental. So if you're not feeling that you're getting the right words across, you're not in the mood, all this can have an influence over what you say. Especially a lot of shy women and shy men out there. They don't know. I don't know. Hey, hi, how's it going? They they have to sometimes, walk on eggshells just to be safe. I mean, imagine if you open up with a deep conversation already right off the bat. You got to find out if the person's in the right mood. You have to read the room, right? You have to say, okay, do I think that this would be an interesting conversation to bring up? But you don't just open up with such a deep conversation. So, yeah, small talk is boring and low effort. No, it's not. Talking in general is effort. And if it feels boring to you, then you're not ready to talk to somebody. I mean, if you're walking somewhere outside and 5 people say, hey, man, this is tough weather, or the weather's nice, are you going to look at them and say, stop being boring and don't ever tell me anything about the weather ever again? I mean, it sounds like you're the problem. But I mean, if you're on a dating app, it sounds like you're desperate and you're getting tired of people asking you nicely how you're doing, which shows that they actually care. I mean, I don't approve of dating apps because they're a huge waste of time. But what do you expect? That's actually a good thing, to have other people on a dating app of all places asking you, what are you up to? How are you? How is it supposed to escalate so quickly if you can't even handle small talk? Then you're not going to be able to handle bigger talk, deeper talk, right? It's simple mathematics. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so he says, I don't want a relationship. Let's just go with the flow and kick it. All right. And she says, cool. We don't even have to go with the flow or kick it. I just want you to put me through the mattress when I call, if I call. No unnecessary talking because I really don't give a F what you think. And when we finish, I'm going to get up and leave because I'm busy and I have a lot on my plate. No hanging out because I wouldn't want people to know I'm messing with you. Wow. He says, damn, that's effed up. She says, ain't it? All right. Well, this is not the Charlie's Angels attitude that you want to have. This isn't Charlie's Angels material. You're not cool at all. This is a toxic female. She doesn't deserve to be called a woman. No real woman would speak like this. No. A respectable, loving, compassionate woman full of passion and joy doesn't speak like this. She's speaking just like a toxic male would. And I highly suspect that she was burned in maybe a relationship or more in the past, and that's why she's acting like this. It is messed up, as the guy said. But that's what the guy gets too. Because I don't want a relationship. Let's just go with the flow and kick it. Okay, so he's messing around just as much as she is. And if looking at this even deeper, if I hope I'm not looking too much into this, but if she's being sarcastic, as in she does want a real relationship, let's just leave that door open to that possibility if she's being sarcastic here. And she's saying, okay, if you just want to go with the flow and kick it, then I'm going to treat you like you don't mean anything. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't advise this. But if that's what she's doing, okay, I see your point, but it's still a waste of your time to even respond to garbage like that. Just move on. Just move on. It's not worth your time to write this big paragraph here. So, sure, kudos to her for trying to tell him something equally as toxic, but don't waste your time with this. If that's the case, by the way. Now, if she means this, then of course she's a toxic person. But if she's just being sarcastic, I understand you're trying to put him in his place by opening his eyes. But realize that ignorance is bliss when you can't fix stupid. So, okay, so it's black and white in that sense. I don't know if it's black or white in this case. I'm leaning more towards she's being sarcastic, actually. But that's a very creative response, so I'm not exactly 100% sure. That's kind of overboard, if you know what I mean. It sounds pretty mighty overboard. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? Went on a date with a guy who said, I've been his gym crush for months. I was like, why you ain't never approached me? He said, that's not what we do at the gym. That's not what we go to for the gym. He used correct grammar, planned a date for the next day. I told him I'm abstinent and not changing that in case that changes his mind. And he still wanted to go ahead. We went for drinks the next afternoon for a few hours and we spoke about a wide range of things and he paid, which was sweet. Okay. He then texted me after he got home, asked me on a second date, correct grammar, respectful, told me he enjoyed our conversation. During the date, he called me a baddie, bro, and G. Honestly, I still give him all the green flags based off our expectations prior. Asked him what he's looking for, and he said if nothing comes of it, we can be friends. I think establishing a friendship is necessary. I'm not actually looking for anything. I told him prior to the date as well. I'm just living life as I've never really dated. Okay. Wow, this is quite a nothing burger. All of that. I mean, she wrote all of this. Okay, well, the only good thing I got out of all of this is that she wants to be friends. That's what I promote. So stop dating. Just start befriending somebody. Get to know them. And let them know that you would like to start off just as friends, but you are interested in them, just in case it goes to develop into something better. But with dating, you just jump right to it and you pretend that, okay, either it's a go or a no-go, a check mark or an X mark. That's rushing. That's rushing because you're rushing to try to get to know each other, and you can't rush that process. That's a very precious. That's why most relationships do fail in the future, eventually. Doesn't matter if it's decades that it takes that much time, for stubborn people who want to insist on staying together when they're clearly incompatible. You have to be sure from the very beginning, getting to know them very slowly. If you're going to potentially spend an entire lifetime together, why rush things? You're just going to end up tripping over yourself constantly forever, now and forever. So, yeah, this is a big nothing burger here. I mean, she's even joking around with baddie, G, and bro. That's what he said. So, yeah, okay, we'll take things slow. I mean, I can't really say too much with this because she says that I went on a date with a guy who said I'd been his gym crush for months. Okay. And grammar issues, yada yada. All right. Well, not quite that interesting. Probably the most boring comment I've ran into in the entire series so far, I must say. Okay. All right. Last comment of the show. I saw something on TikTok that said, I'm never getting over the fact that romance as a genre, as the highest selling genre, exists largely because straight women fantasize about being loved and treated kindly by men, and men constantly make fun of this because they think it's just that unrealistic that they could cherish women and that women are stupid in the first place for wanting such an impossible thing. And I think this is the truest thing I've ever heard. Yes, absolutely. It's a sad world, and it has been for a very long time now. At least a decade and a half. At least, at the most intense. So many men out there are completely stupid. I have to use that word. They don't believe in true love. They don't believe that fantasy fairy tales can in fact come true and be way better. I mean, a Cinderella story is just some prince and some, eventually a princess, how she became. Okay, I get it. But we don't live in castles. Your home is your castle. So it's not that much different from real life if you look at it. The guy gets the girl gets the guy. What's there to say that it's impossible, it's a fairy tale? No, that happens in real life. Not the same exact way with all the magic that Disney puts into it, or Pixar movies. But real life is infinitely better than any cartoon can possibly portray love to be. And that's what you need to realize. So yes, think about how immature and unintelligent a man has to be to say, that's rubbish. That's impossible. No. Such guys, I don't even want to call them men. Such males out there, unintelligent males, who think a fairy tale in a movie or cartoon is impossible, are extremely unintelligent. And they're void of any wisdom. Because somebody who doesn't believe in true love is already a basket case for, the garbage pit. That's just the wastelands of garbage. They're already living in a dumpster with that type of attitude. And imagine if you're looking for someone to potentially spend the rest of your life with, and they say nobody's perfect, perfection doesn't exist, or oh, fairy tales, yeah, that's impossible. No, that stuff's stupid. I would highly advise that you stay extremely far away from such stupid people. Because that's who you potentially want to have kids with or get married to and not have kids, it doesn't matter. You want to spend the rest of your life with someone like that? I'm just going to give the example that I one of the go-to examples. In a pinball machine game, when you're going to play your very first round, you pull that spring back as far back as possible and you let it go, right? And you expect that ball to go all the way deep down into that machine. And then so you can play the game. What happens if you don't pull the spring back far enough? That ball isn't going to get into the game, right? Now, love is not a game. But by golly, if your spring is not strong enough, that ball's not going anywhere. So by you saying that perfection doesn't exist, that you don't care, that fairy tales are just fiction, there's nothing to learn from that's impossible to achieve in real life, that ball isn't going anywhere. So you're just going to end up perpetually pulling back on that spring with such little power, such little passion, if any, and you expect for that ball to get into the pinball machine. It's not going to happen. And love works the exact same way. How much passion do you really have? Because if you're saying garbage like that to begin with, and it is sad because there's so many men and women, not just women out there, they fantasize over this. True love, a real fairy tale story come to life, They do. Men do. Just as much as the women. They just don't talk about it. They want that. But everybody laughs at them because, well, the world is unfortunately dominated by lots of stupid people. And they try to put down love and all the potential it has. And unfortunately, well, that's like the rose in the desert. You know, you're going to find some roses, but it's a desert. What do you expect? The rest is going to be just boring sand, bland. So, yes, unfortunately, that's the type of society we live in today. Did it suck when you found out those good guys you thought were so great actually hate women? Okay. Well, I don't think they're actually good guys. Maybe they manipulated you to think that they were good guys. So actually the error would fall back on this woman here, because she should know that there actually are good guys out there, but there's also deceivers, bad guys, playing the good guy. I mean, this is pretty classic. But it's amazing how a lot of women out there still don't understand, and a lot of men don't either, because there's good women, but there's also toxic women pretending to be good women. And then they get upset, both men and women, when they find out that the good man or the good woman they thought was good turned out to be bad in disguise. Well, no surprise. That's how deception, manipulation works. That's how toxic people operate. Now, should your experience paint a permanent picture with a marker on all the rest of the possibilities of finding a good guy out there? No. That should be common sense. That should be logical. A natural, logical conclusion is I got played, but I believe that there are good guys out there because that's what I was expecting to find. Well, then you have to accept responsibility for yourself at that point and say, I messed up by placing my trust on somebody that didn't deserve my trust. You know, you have to accept responsibility for your own actions. You can't just say it was this bad guy pretending to be a good guy. Yeah, you're right. You got played. And it's really horrible. And it goes both ways. There's victims all the time to toxic people. Every single day there's lots of victims. A lot of heartbreak, divorces, breakups, you name it. But that does not mean by any definition that good guys and good women don't exist. No, that's false. If you consider yourself to be a good guy or a good woman, then that obviously means, this is basic mathematics, that there's also other good guys and good women out there too. It's not just you. To say otherwise, that you're the only good guy or good woman that exists, is extremely immature. So, patience, get over the heartbreak, get over that deception that you've been through. You need time to heal. It does suck. But, you know, you're saying those good guys you thought. So I'm glad you're not saying all guys. That's very smart here. You thought they were great, but to actually hate women, sure, I would say the majority of those manipulators do hate women, but a lot of them are just looking to just use women, which you could define as a form of hatred, but not really. There is a difference. They're both bad, and it doesn't really matter, but it kind of matters in context with the word hatred. Got to be a little bit more careful with that word. Maybe are out to use and abuse women. Sure, but no need to be specific. Okay, I think that pretty much covers that comment. Yeah, it does suck. But there's good people out there. Trust me, there are. Alright, second comment. If dating has taught me anything, it has taught me you can't get excited about anybody anymore. The letdown is real. Well, because you're rushing into love. Why don't you slow down? Why don't you just find somebody of the opposite sex to be friends with? Yeah, so what do you mean dating? Well, dating has taught you a lesson that, you know, unfortunately a lot of people who insist on dating are going to find out the hard way. Yeah, you can't get excited about rushing into love. Only fools rush in, right? The letdown. Yeah, be prepared to be let down constantly in the dating game. So, dating is a very harsh lesson for those who actually are trying to seek a meaningful relationship. It's like musical chairs. But don't be surprised if you get left without a chair, but don't be surprised if those that actually did end up with a chair with somebody to date, don't assume that, oh, they must be doing good. No, most likely they're rushing and they think it's working out, but eventually it's going to crumble because they took it too fast. It's just a matter of time. How much time? Can't really tell you. So yeah, the letdown is real. It's very real. But that's when you got to take it real and just go offline. Go offline. And don't date somebody, just get to know somebody. I know that sounds like it's not common, but that's why it works. All right, third comment. Some of the dating advice given to women from other women on here is just mean. That man has no problem committing. He doesn't like you. Crying over a man when you could get a new one is wild work. You sad. Meanwhile, that man is not thinking about you. Okay. Please let women have hurt feelings. Let us be sad that a man we liked did not like us back. It doesn't mean we are weak or we are pick-me's. It simply means we are, and I know this might be a controversial point, human. Yeah, what do you expect to find on social media? There's going to be a lot of cruel people. I'd say the majority of people who are being cruel on purpose, not being reactionary. They're not reacting to somebody else. They're pretty much venting their offline frustration online. That's how that works. So it says more about them than it does about what they're saying about you. All right, so everybody has something to be upset about when they're miserable offline. So they come online many times, multiple times, and they try to find virtual punching bags. So that's what you're getting here. And you're just asking, hey, can I just grieve in peace? Well, you got to realize that when you put information out there on social media, there's going to be a lot of miserable people who want to attack you because you make an easy target. Yeah. And so misery begets more misery. You're just going to attract the wrong crowd. That's the way that works. So, to ask for people to allow you to mourn over your lost opportunities to make a relationship work, yeah, you should keep that to yourself. But if you want to share that with people online, sure, but just don't just, present it to just anybody out there, because there's going to be a lot of people looking to do no good online. So the dating advice, yeah, there's a lot of angry women who are going to be jealous if you actually do find somebody and it works out and you want to tell everybody online. Yeah, they're going to be jealous and they're going to want to tear you down like crabs in a bucket. And other women, they don't care about you grieving online about your constant failures in a relationship or your constant unlucky chances at, unlucky circumstances where you're still single and you're still trying to look for somebody. No, that they're going to want to tear you down because there's tons of toxic women out there online and tons of toxic men as well. So what do you expect? They're not going to let you grieve in peace over your misfortunes. All right, let's move on to the next comment. I refuse to let social media ruin the idea that men and women are doomed in dating. There are amazing men out there, and there are amazing women out there. This idea that we all suck is not something I choose to believe. Good for you. If I know I'm a good human, I know there's others there too. Others out there too. Absolutely. That's what I just said a couple of comments ago. You see, I'm glad this is very refreshing to see. This is very refreshing because it means at least somebody, this is actually rare for me to find, it means that somebody out there is actually thinking. very logically, very naturally, because there's a lot of doom and gloom online. They're going to say that all women suck, all men suck, they're all garbage, they're all toxic, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to do it ad nauseum, 24/7, 365 days a year, multiple years. And they're going to get drunk at home, most likely, or other types of substance abuse over their depression, their agony, their misery. And the cycle just viciously repeats itself, and they want to drag anybody and everybody down with them too. If I have to live alone and miserable, then everybody else does too. So, guy, for example, if a guy is miserable and alone, he wants to drag everybody else down by trying to bash women online, saying all women are horrible, they suck. And then the same thing for miserable women who live all alone and miserable. Well, they want to come online and just bash all men because they're miserable. This is what miserable people do. And it's pretty much on a daily basis. You'll find it everywhere online. And there's actual shows that are committed to doing this. There are channels on YouTube, for example, where they say, all the women are terrible and this is why. And then you got a bunch of miserable men in the comments saying, yeah, you know, women are just this and that. Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of comments just complaining, moaning, and groaning about their failures. And they're going to pretend to be happy when they're not. So yes, I agree with this comment here that don't allow social media to bring you down, because it is bringing tons of men and tons of women down every single day. They're listening to this garbage, and then they need an outlet to vent their offline frustration and misery. And that's why these channels grow so fast. Is this a bash all women channel? Ooh, smash that subscribe button. Is this a bash all men channel? Ooh, smash that subscribe button. And so this is what I call the gender war, and only fools participate in the gender war. It's a waste of life. But it only exposes themselves as they're all miserable, they're all sad, and they're weak. And I wouldn't recommend anybody who participates in those channels to anybody. They're all immature. They're all losers. It's just the way it is. All right, last comment of the show. I met this guy on a dating app 3 months ago, and we finally went on our first date. He took me to eat dinner at an aquarium. Okay, it was cute, I guess, but honestly, it felt childish as hell. Okay? Like, we couldn't go to Ruth's Chris or somewhere grown. I don't know where somewhere grown would be. What, a Red Lobster? I mean, a steakhouse? I blocked him as soon as I got home. I'm not entertaining no little boy energy. Wow. Maybe I'm wrong. I think you are. But that's just how I feel. I need a man, not a play date. Okay. I mean, look, I know it sounds awkward to take somebody on a date to Chuck E. Cheese, for example, or a McDonald's. But does it really matter? I mean, I guess it comes down to preference. I mean, if it really matters for you, I get it. But this is another reason why dating doesn't work, right? Okay, so imagine you go out on a date. Let's say the guy, well, this is a case with a woman. Okay, so this woman goes out with a guy. Okay, I guess she expects him to pay, or they go Dutch, 50-50. Let's say 50-50. Okay, so it has to be, I guess, a man's place, not a little boy energy play date, you know, aquarium, which, what's wrong with an aquarium? Like, that's awesome. That's a classic. That's a great idea, an aquarium. I mean, there's beautiful things to see. Anyways, so, okay, let's go ahead and go into what she considers big boy, not little boy, energy, a steakhouse. Okay, you guys are going to pay 50-50. It could turn out to be an expensive date. Let's just paint that picture. And what if it doesn't work out? Okay, on to the next date. Okay, it's going to be another expensive dinner, right? You see where this is going? So dating's going to get mighty expensive. Simple mathematics. I mean, if you can afford that lifestyle, but you're assuming that your date can afford that lifestyle too? And then many women expect the guy to pay for the date, everything. The aquarium tickets or the steakhouse dinner with dessert. I don't know, take home food too. I mean, there's so many variables. That's why dating, it just doesn't work. You can't read each other's minds either. And specifying everything as if you're ordering a human being to date with. Okay, look, we're going to go out on this date, but I need you to do this. I need you to pay for that. And you can't say this, and you can't think that. We're not robots. So this is why dating just doesn't work. You have to just simply get to know somebody as friends. Friendship. Dating, you're going to be playing foolish games like this. And look how toxic she's reacting. Oh, little boy energy, aquarium. That's actually a very smart place to go to, an aquarium. That means that there's some intelligence involved. But even if it was a McDonald's, who cares? You should be focused on the person sitting across the table from you and who's walking by your side. It's the conversations, not necessarily the clothes that you choose to wear. Just get to know each other. You don't have to even call it a date. Just go out together. Try to become friends. If you guys can establish a successful friendship, you don't have to go on silly little dates. And it's so much fun. And if it's meant to be something more than just friendship, it'll happen naturally. But when you try to rush into it and you play these silly little games, chances are it's all going to crumble like a poorly made cookie. It's just going to crumble. Tasteless, effortless, meaningless, a waste of substance, time, energy. I don't want that for anybody out there. Friendship, not dating, okay? Because, this actually exposes her as somewhat toxic. Says everything about her. An aquarium is an awesome place, by the way. What's your best flirting technique? Personally, I like to play hard to get by staying at home and having no contact with anyone. All right. Well, behold, this is the modern day male loser and female loser. Anybody who says this, and even if they're joking around with it, the best flirting technique, I get the joke, playing hard to get, but unfortunately this is the reality of many men and women out there. They're too scared to go out there into the real world and do their best to try to find somebody who may become their serious partner in a serious relationship. So today we have a world of cowardice and laziness. There's a total lack of urge to want love in one's life. And even the ones who want it are not in present condition to go out there and make it happen. That could change. But the sad fact is, there's an epidemic worldwide of cowards. And the men are, to me, in my opinion, the most disappointing, because I can understand shy women, but the men choosing to live alone just because they failed in a relationship or two, that's just sad. That really is. That's not what a real man does. You don't accept defeat because you were unlucky or you have a confidence issue. You got to fix that up. Otherwise, you are a loser because you're choosing to be a loser. If you're out there without a partner and all you're doing is smashing that repeat button, the same Groundhog Day every single day, it doesn't matter how busy you are with work, your responsibilities. It doesn't matter. Your economic situation. If you are living alone, celebrating your birthdays alone, or celebrating holidays alone, overall just alone all the time, and you convince yourself that you're happy when you know you're not, it really is sad. And I don't feel bad for you because you have everything, well, you could have everything that it takes in order to make it happen, to finally be happy, because happiness is only achieved through the power of true love. Not messing around, make believe love. True love. When your lifelong partner loves you and you love them back forever. If you don't know what that feels like, or if you knew what that felt like once upon a time and you were deceived, get over it. Try again. Because the day you stop is the day you begin to die inside. I hate to put it that way, but it's the truth. Tough love. So if the shoe fits, you know what you have to do. And if you respond with something silly like, I don't need anybody in my life, I don't need love, love doesn't exist, then you deserve to be the loser that you are. By all means, if that's what your response is, keep drinking that alcohol, keep wasting your time thinking that you're actually alive when you know you're not. If you don't have a partner by your side, and you choose to remain that way and do absolutely nothing about it day in and day out, you deserve your misery. And don't bother trying to convince me that you're happy, because I know you're not. You can lie to yourself. You're free to do so. But I wasn't born yesterday. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? Yeah, it's not even fun to even joke with something like that. I can see the humor, but it really isn't funny. Not nowadays. Any person getting a date with me at any point in the future means that person is giving me a full dating resume, including references from exes. Why? Because my dog and my house aren't problematic, and I don't even have to put on pants to enjoy my life. Alright, well, another comment where I don't find funny. This time it's coming from a woman. Okay, so you're married to your dog, and you're calling men problematic. You know, like I said before in previous shows, it says everything about you, not men. Not men. Even the previous comment where the guy's too scared to go out there and actually try to find someone for real. This one is just as pathetic. I'm sorry to say it. And I know they're joking with this one too. I mean, lot of jokes. A lot of jokes in today's world with love, when it comes to love. I don't see the humor in it. I mean, I can detect it, but it's not worth laughing at, because this is the reality for so many people. So we just went over a comment of a man too scared to actually try to make it happen, to find someone to potentially fall in love with, to find someone. And now we have a woman here joking around that she pretty much just needs her dog at home because she doesn't want problems, and saying something completely unrealistic, obviously, a full dating resume including references from exes. It's just not funny. And the laughing emoji, it means, trust me, it means the complete 180, the opposite. She's not laughing deep down inside. And this is just a way of coping with her misery, her sadness. Let's go ahead and move on. I tend to see this a lot in different forms of comments online. It really is sad. It really is. Okay, so next comment here. This guy is 44 years old. Interested in recipes, dogs, and travel destinations. No liberals, no Christian or evangelicals, no blacks or Spanish, no cat ladies, owners, no drugs except THC. Wow. No AA, Alcohol Anonymous, or recovery. Not over 5'8", no toxic positivity. What? No Gen Z. Loyal, kind, compassionate, like-minded, seeks progress and success. Admiration for critical thinking, highly intelligent, well-read, cultured. Wow, what is this guy on about? Well-rounded. What does that even mean? Street smarts. A survivor, traditional, conservative. What? What? What does that even mean? Classy, familiar with etiquette, highly logical responsiveness. highly rational, unsurpassed communicative skill. So he's 5'9". That means that she can't be over 5'8" because he has security issues. Maybe Napoleon syndrome. Industrial electrician. He doesn't have kids. Wow. And at this rate, you never will. What kind of a resume like description? You're seeking a woman who checks in that whole paragraph there. Well read, well rounded, classy. I mean, some of these are legit, but it sounds more like a ridiculous resume. I mean, it's okay if you don't want somebody who's religious and you know which kind of race that you're mainly attracted to, I guess. You're just excluding two different races. Well, that's fine. But I mean, it's THC. Wow. So you want somebody who's into THC. It's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, but they can't be a drinker, you know. Well, that's good too. But why the THC then? And toxic positivity, that makes no sense. So, you know, this is the garbage that is out there. And then you wonder, so on one hand you have the cowards, the lazy cowards who sit at home alone and convince themselves saying that they're happy alone. And then you have the idiots like these who they try to make something happen, but they fail miserably. This guy's 44, and no wonder he's still alone. Because it's not a matter of being picky with what he's seeking here. It's how ridiculous it sounds. It's strictly ridiculous. And he's trying to do this online, by the way. He thinks that it's like DoorDash, just ordering some pizza delivery. That's not how it works. And that's the main problem with dating. That's why it fails almost 100% of the time, either in the short term, especially, or the long term, the long run. But this is the level of clownery that we have. It's a circus. It really is, with people who think that this is actually going to work on any level of success. I mean, it's just unsurpassed communicative skill, highly intelligent. You want somebody who has what you clearly don't have. Okay. But it makes no sense, because somebody who is unsurpassed communicatively, whatever that means, and highly intelligent, you think they're going to want to be with someone like you? With these types of descriptions here? I mean, I don't even know how this guy is, but he doesn't sound like much. It's just, wow. And then people think they know what they're looking for. And they think they know what love actually is. No, they don't. Clearly, obviously they don't. All right, next comment. Oh my goodness, what a comedy show. I'm just gonna say it. All right, so say it. The most exhausting thing about dating men is having to raise them emotionally. Okay. Having to teach compassion, explain reciprocity. Like, bro, you're grown. Oh, you don't sound grown. Why am I introducing you to feelings you should have met in childhood? All right, so this is some toxic woman here. I mean, you're asking for a grown man, but you're talking like bro. And what kind of reciprocity are we talking about? I mean, you know, exhausting. So you feel that you have to raise men emotionally. What kind of men are you dating? I have no idea. But again, if you have to state this online, a lot of women think that they're so cool by stating this. They're not. It just says that you don't know how to choose the right potential partner. You have no idea what you're doing. That's what you're saying here. Having to teach compassion. What does that even mean? Compassion for what exactly? I mean, what's bothering you? And you know, they just say this. I'm just gonna say it, okay? But you're not really saying anything. You're just whining about something. It's like the phrase, "What are you on about?" It does beg the question: who hurts you, and why, and how? You can't just. This is not productive, is what I'm saying. It's just a completely useless comment. It really is, and it says everything about her than it does about what she's trying to describe about men today. All right, last comment of the show. Wow. Dating isn't dead. People just lost basic communication skills. Okay, well, that means dating is dead. Because what do you think dating is? Void of any sign of communication, any ability to communicate? I mean, hello. You, you guys are trying to rush the process of love by going out with each other. And guess what? I mean, we could play Jeopardy here. What do you think the final answer is? Communicating with each other. All right. So you're saying that dating appears to be dead because people have lost basic communication skills. Well, I'll go ahead and give you kudos for saying that people have lost basic communication skills, because there's a lot of fear these days. People don't want to talk about how to better their life situation when it comes to relationships. They're too scared to open their mouths. They're too scared to communicate with people that can help them. Or to other people in general. They'd rather just complain online and offline and blame all men or all women. So yes, they lost far more than just basic communication skills. They've lost the will to problem solve. If they're even capable. Because I doubt their capabilities at that point. If fear ruins their lives by ruling their lives, it's game over. It's far more than just basic communication skills. A lot of things seem to be dead these days when it comes to relationships. And it really is very sad when you look at it, because our ancestors would be very disappointed with today's multi-generational problem with love. All the finger pointing, all the denial that goes on, saying that people are happy living alone, or they're happy in mediocre relationships, or miserable, even abusive relationships. They lie to themselves. They lie every single day. And they're actors. They pretend that everything's fine when they know deep down inside things are not fine. That this is not it. This is not happiness. It's not what life is all about. But regardless, they continue to smash the repeat button every single day and do absolutely nothing about their current life situation when it comes to relationships. And a lot of people going out and getting intimate with a bunch of random people, they think that they're winning in life. 31 flavors. No, you're not. Because in the end, you didn't win over anybody's heart. All you got was perpetual satisfaction going nowhere long term. So congratulations. You're just playing with a bunch of people's hearts as much as they're playing with yours. So these are the people who cry themselves to sleep, and they do, once again, nothing about it. They think they're winning when they're actually losing. It doesn't matter how many people you get to come to bed with you, or you get into bed with at their place or in a hotel or whatever. That's not winning. The only time where you're really winning in life and not being an absolute loser is when you're winning over somebody's heart and they're winning over yours. And you'll know it, because feeling is everything in life. Not lies that you create to deceive yourself, pretending that you're happy when you know you're not. Why are people so dumb? All the stuff people say on social media have zero reputable or educational backing. They just say the worst things. I genuinely think social media engines pay people to be like bots and posts stupid things for clicks and traction. Okay. Yes, that possibility does exist. There's millions and millions of dollars floating around, but we won't get into any of that. I'm just going to put out there, in general, with people acting dumb and posting dumb things on social media, you're asking why? Well, because the ones who are, I'm not talking about bots or anything, I'm not going to get into that. That is a possibility, but there are real people posting things. They sound like bots, but they're not. And to them, I say they're acting dumb, as this person puts it, because they're hurting inside. So the dumb things would be things like all women are stupid, all men are stupid, anything that basically attacks men or women. And so there's going to be dumb men and dumb women online. And I have to say dumb because all they post are dumb things that they're very negative things to say. They're not productive at all. And essentially they don't help anybody. And the only people who identify with such dumb comments are people who are going through the same negative emotions. They recently suffered a failed relationship, or they're miserable living alone. They have no hope. And so they'd rather cope instead of work on their lives to improve their lives. And so, yes, why? That's exactly why. Because negative energy just creates more negative energy. And then the people coping with miserable lives, they all get together, they all huddle together virtually and thumb each other up and say, yeah, women are stupid, I agree. Yeah, men are stupid, I agree. And so you end up with this dumb peanut gallery. And they think that they're so cool, that they're so righteous, when in reality, they're all just a bunch of dumb people. I'm sorry to say, but that's the horrible reality of it all. On social media. It doesn't matter if they don't have educational backing, zero reputation. It doesn't matter. And they do say the worst things. So yeah, that addresses that. It'll always be that way, unfortunately, I highly suspect, because the trajectory isn't looking too good on either side, with men or with women. There's a lot of silent men, and there's a lot of silent women. It's really stupid. It's dumb, as a person says. They don't want to talk about anything positive to do with relationships. Some of them do on the women's side, because the men are mostly mute, too scared to talk about relationships most of the time. I would say men complain more often than women. I've seen a lot of great comments from women on social media, far more than men saying good things about women. Yes. So I would say the women are clearly winning by a long shot, but there's a lot of silent women too. Scaredy cats. They don't want to say anything about relationships. So yeah, you got dumb people on both sides. All right, next comment. I feel sorry for women nowadays. Most women aren't loved passionately or treated right. They are expected to do everything yet receive very little in return. Now I understand why so many are single by choice and difficult to approach. Well, they're single because they either need to recuperate from their wounds, they need to heal their hearts. But the ones who choose to be single forever, well, we're back to the dumb topic again, aren't we? Because they're choosing to be losers, which, in my opinion, is a very dumb choice to make. All right, we'll get off of the dumb topic. But yes, they're choosing to be losers because, well, they feel that they failed, that there was only one try or a few tries, like a video game. You only get a certain amount of continues, when the truth is you get infinite continues until you get it right, until you find the right partner. So if they give up on themselves and choose to be a loser forever and waste their lives away thinking that they're happy when they know they're not, they just want to admit it, then yeah, it's a really foolish choice. And I would encourage them not to be losers, but a lot of people you just can't help. Their lives are ruled by fear. They don't have a voice. They don't have courage. They don't have willpower. So you feeling sorry for women nowadays, well, I feel sorry for a lot of men too, who go through abusive relationships, pretty much the same as women. But, there's this argument that women suffer more than men, and I disagree. In some things, yes, But in other things, men suffer more than women. It just depends on a case by case basis what exactly we're talking about and the context and the angle. The devil's in the details, right? So passion should work both ways. If you want to talk about how sad it is that a lot of women, because this person's saying that all women, and that's clearly false. Nowadays, women nowadays, the modern day woman. No, there's lots of happy women too. And they're happy to discuss their happy relationships. The problem is people are addicted to drama. And they don't care to hear about success stories. But the women who do have successful relationships, they do share with people online to learn from. And they try to help others with their advice. But again, nobody's really listening because people are addicted to drama on social media for the most part. I'd say at least 90% or more. If it was otherwise, I would gladly say so, but it is doom and gloom on social media. You got a bunch of mutes who are too scared to say anything positive, but they will speak up and shout anything negative because I guess that's the cool thing to do, which only losers do, by the way. And you have a lot of positive people on social media all across, all different platforms, saying great things and trying to teach others. And the majority of people just don't care. They don't care because they don't want a good story, a happy ending, and they don't want to improve their lives. They just want to go online and vent out their misery offline, online. Unfortunately. So to choose to be single by choice and not to get back in there and find the right person, well, if you need time to heal, go ahead. But you need to get back out there and find the right person, because if you don't, then now you're the loser. Because if you would have succeeded in the first place, you wouldn't give up on yourself so easily. Just like anything, get up and try again. Because the moment you stay down and give up, that's on you. You can't blame the world anymore. For example, the women that this person's discussing here, all the women who suffer. Okay, well, those women, those victims, they have a choice. Either you get back up, first of all, break up your relationship, divorce, whatever it may be, and get back up and, take some time off and find the right person. Take a year or two off, but don't take a whole lifetime off, because now you have nobody to blame but yourself. I'll have to say that. And suffering happens on both sides. But a lot of beautiful things also happen on both sides. There's a lot of women who get treated as they deserve, beautifully, with lots of love and passion by loving men. And there's a lot of men who get treated beautifully and passionately by lots of loving women. The problem is you won't hear so much about the success stories because they're happy. I mean, a lot of them do try to share on social media, but who wants to listen to that? Right? It's just nothing but negative drama these days. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next comment. When a woman truly loves you, she'll fix her attitude, her tone, her habits, anything that risks losing you. Absolutely. See, this is a beautiful comment. Very beautiful. Because they're saying true love. And the same applies with a man who truly loves the woman he's with. And I love what this person here says. Fix her bad attitude is what they mean. Her negative tone, her bad habits, basically anything that risks losing her partner. Very beautifully. This is true love. When a woman says, I'm not changing, you can't change me, I'm not, well, then you should stay alone. And if you insist on doubling down and being stupid, meaning inflexible and foolish, then you deserve to be miserable alone. I hate to say, but you're choosing not to grow, not to be a better person, to become a better person. You got to go through that change, that transformation. You got to spin your own cocoon if you want to fly one day. But if you want to crawl on the earth like a worm and never turn into a butterfly the way you were meant to be, and fly high and proud and fast, that's on you. So yes, When a man or a woman truly loves their partner, they'll fix all the negative and they'll want to fix each other's problems. They'll want to be a genie in a bottle for each other. Your wish is my command. That's true love. Your wish is my command. Any fantasies you have, any desires, what do you want, honey? Every single day, by the way. That's true love. And if that sounds like an exaggeration to you, if that's an exaggeration for you, you need to change. Because you're destined to be in a mediocre, meaningless relationship. Unhappy, by the way. You can lie to yourself saying you're happy in a mediocre relationship, but you know you're not. You're not fooling anybody. Well, you'll fool the people who don't know any better. And yes, so I really do love this comment. True love makes you do everything correctly. Those who haven't felt true love before, maybe they felt love on a very basic level. But true love is through the roof. It's in the sky. There is no limit. It's not even at the top of a mountain. It's way beyond. It's out of this world. Understand? That's what true love is. You're willing to do everything. So I really love this comment. Wow, the best comment, in fact, of the whole series in these 3 seasons so far. That's the best comment that I've ever seen on social media. Extremely rare. Bravo. Bravo. And that was written by a woman, by the way. Obviously not a man, because that would be even more rare for an actual man. I mean, I would write such a thing, but that's not fair because I'm a relationship coach. That's my job, to be honest and to give the most powerful advice possible. So to find another man doing the same, extremely rare. Pretty much almost impossible. It's possible, obviously, but good luck finding it on social media. Usually it's the women who say beautiful things like that, but again, it's very rare. Bravo. Okay, next comment. Good morning, queens. Quick question. Why are we always fighting against one another? That's a good question. Women will click with other women they barely socialize with to try and bring you down. Yeah, crabs in a bucket, sure. Happens on both sides. Men do the same thing. Stop recruiting other folks to hate people with you. Yeah, preach. Especially as grown women, we have become extremely petty, sensitive, and childish. You don't say. And quiet, too. A lot of quiet women out there. Scaredy cats. I have learned walking away is so peaceful. Have an amazing day, beautiful. Okay, well, yeah, we're back into the circus of social media for the most part. Yes, so she mentioned crabs in a bucket, bringing each other down because, well, they're miserable. Miserable people want to bring other people down. If you're happy or not, they don't care. It's all the same. But if you complain online just like they do, the losers, right? All they do is complain, oh, women this, men that. Then they won't bring each other down because, well, they're busy trying to take down other people who are happy or who feel indifferent. They have to force you to choose their negative dark side. Take you to the dark side, right? Yeah, so it's a great question. And my question is to the silent women out there. Why are you so silent? Why are you so scared to speak up in a good, positive, helpful way, not only to other fellow women, but to men as well? There are, like I said before, very few men, if any, saying positive things on how to help each other with relationships. But there are women who do try to help men and women out there with their positive advice. That's the only thing you'll find on social media, primarily 90-something% of the time, almost 100%. Well, yeah. So, this is an honest question. Stop recruiting other folks. They're not necessarily recruited. They're just encouraged negatively to do. Well, destruction is easy. It's easier than actually constructing something. Being constructive is positive and life-changing. A few words could change another person's life, but it's so easy to just be destructive in this world. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. Yeah, you're trying to convince people who are willingly choosing to be losers. And unfortunately, you can't help those who have gone far. They're far too gone. They've gone way too far. There's no limits to how much of a loser they want to be online. All right, last comment of the show, shall we? When a man leaves a long-term relationship, the girl's first thoughts are often, he found someone else, or how could he do this? What women don't consider are the times he felt terrible or when she disrespected him. Men don't just wake up one day and decide to leave. A man's actions and words build up over time, and eventually he can't carry the weight anymore. Yeah, okay, so everybody has their threshold. And the same applies to good-hearted women who are being mistreated by men in that relationship. So, yeah, it always works both ways. But for the sake of the comment, let's go ahead and address it. Okay, so men. Yes, generally speaking, good men endure more problematic situations because they really don't want the inconvenience of having to end a relationship and find somebody else. It is inconvenient. Because especially if these good men are pouring their heart and soul into the relationship, and they're like, wow, good men are usually more problem solving. Good-hearted women are more hoping that the relationship will work. They try to problem solve, but not exactly like men. They're more emotional in that regard, even though men are emotional too. They hope that the relationship, they hope that some miracle is going to happen instead of trying to actually solve the problems. Or they do try to solve the problems, but there's just no luck. There's no positive effort with the toxic man that they're with. So it's really tough to say. It's a case-by-case basis. But yes, nobody good-hearted, either man or woman, they don't just decide to leave all of a sudden in a long-term relationship. It's extremely inconvenient. It's very heartbreaking and soul-crushing. It's not always about convenience. It's also about, that heart, protecting yourself, and you really don't want to lose it. It's not being stubborn to try to make an incompatible relationship work. It's really putting everything you have into it because that's what you really want. You want things to work out. And it's such a shame. It's a crying shame when, especially in a long-term relationship, the man or the woman eventually turns into this toxic person that you no longer recognize. And it really is crushing, because not only do you lose that loving feeling, but you eventually destroy the relationship that you fought so hard to support and to keep alive. Matched with a wonderful guy on a dating app, but he revealed on the first date that he was a virgin. Y'all, we're both 42. I was shocked. He does not give incel vibes. He's attractive. He said he just never felt ready. Was never in a relationship serious enough. I don't think he was lying. He seems like a really genuine guy. I accepted his invitation to a second date because, well, honestly, I like him. But I just don't know how to feel about it. I would really love to hear some other opinions. All right, well, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, 42-year-old virgin. That's a big sign of immaturity, believe it or not. Kind of feel sorry for you if you don't really think that that's not a red flag, because to me that's a red flag. 42 and still hasn't had any intimate relations at all. No intimate experience. That is a big red flag. There's something terribly wrong with that. Anybody who thinks that's cute, let me tell you something, it's not cute. That is wasting your life. What has this guy been doing for 42 years? Well, we already know up to, let's say, maximum 20-something. Okay, school. All right, for the last 20-something years, or 20 years, what has this guy been doing? And he can't say, I've been busy with work, or I had mediocre relationships. Then either you have no idea what love is and how to pursue it, or you're scared and have some type of very awkward, unnatural phobia. There's actually no excuse to be a virgin at 42. Heck, even 30-something-year-olds who are virgins. I really disagree with being a virgin all the way up to that point. Technically, virginity doesn't really exist for a man, but I guess it does, meaning the first experience with a woman. A serious experience, obviously, because it's extremely intimate. I get it. But no, this is a big red flag. And if he's so attractive and he's a genuine good guy, why has he been so unlucky? What is it about this guy that we probably most likely don't know? Is he a psycho? Does he have certain problems, mental and emotional? You can't be this much of a failure, because it is being a failure. A virgin at 42. If this sounds harsh, sorry, but it's the truth. You got problems if you're a virgin at 42. Serious problems. And man or woman, virgin at 42, you're not a good candidate for anybody at that point. You need to change drastically whatever it is that is wrong with you. There's nothing positive of maintaining virginity for that long. I could probably, in an extreme case, understand somebody who's staying a virgin up till 30 years old max. 30-year-old, that's as much as I'll push it, the limit. But anything beyond that, you got problems. So she wants to know, I would really love to hear other opinions. All right? Well, this isn't an opinion. This is pretty much a fact. There's something terribly wrong with him. Now, can he redeem himself and finally lose his V card, his virginity card? Sure. I just don't see the possibilities of that happening. I mean, because like I said, the guy has to have some severe problems to be a virgin all the way up to... You guys just don't understand if you guys disagree. You don't understand. 42. Do you know how long that is? Staying a virgin. If you disagree right away, you really have to stop and think. You have to really slow down and ponder on it. That is an extremely enormous amount of time. Let's go ahead and move on. I do not recommend that guy for you, but like I said, I would recommend that he go talk to a psychologist and find out what's really the problem. It's not natural, and it's definitely not normal. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next comment. I've realized some things about dating men in their late 20s, early 30s versus men in their mid 40s. The younger guys are confident, still have that sparkle in their eye, and yes, are very hot, but don't quite know how to handle a woman yet. Don't know what they want yet. Communication skills are subpar, largely still in their having fun phase, so they're great for that. The older guys are much more direct about what they want, more in touch with their emotions, and have life experience that has either broken them or breathed new life into them. If the latter, they're fun and vibrant as hell, and the salt and pepper look is sexy too. Basically, dating in your late 30s gives a wide range of dating experiences and a little bit of everything. Okay, what are we saying here? This is all expected. The younger guys, they're kind of learning the ropes, how to handle a woman. But that's not really a huge downside, because they could be far more passionate than somebody in their 30s and especially 40s. Because that's kind of when the passion starts dying out. They start to fall for their age and act their age, which I never encourage. I always encourage people to act young, to be young at heart. Otherwise, you're going to get old very fast. And you're going to feel as old as that number says. So no, it all depends. A man in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, 50s, 60s even, you better be extremely passionate. You better never let that die off either. You don't have to grow old. You're only as old as how you feel inside. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up with that. Now, as far as experience, well, you don't want a young guy to have intimate relationships with a bunch of women because he doesn't know what he wants. You got to get it right as soon as possible. The whole argument with 31 flavors, you need to experience what it's like with a bunch of different women. No, that's just going to confuse you. You should already know what kind of person you're attracted to. And you have to be like a sniper, not like a machine gunner in this life. One shot, make it count. That's a man who knows what he wants. And I can't stand the argument when people say, well, how do you know what you want? You have to try to be with a bunch of women and what, break each other's hearts? No, 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 we're just goofing around. Okay, so you're not learning anything. Yeah, but we're just enjoying life. You got to try 31 flavors. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's like saying you got to get a bunch of jobs to know which job you like. No, what kind of job do you want? Well, I don't know what I want. Well, you better find out. And the same thing applies in the world of love. You got to know who you're attracted to. Otherwise, you're going to waste somebody else's time and waste your precious time too. And you're going to end up nowhere with no one by your side. It's so the level of immaturity with people, especially dating, playing the dating game, is through the roof. The majority of people don't know what they want. They're just messing around saying, well, that's what everybody else does. No, that's not what everybody else does. So this here with the younger guys versus the older guys, how about the immature guys, regardless of what their age is, and the mature guys, regardless of what their age is? Don't fall for this little ageism, immature personality here. This immature judgment that just because a guy is in their 20s, they can't be mature. In fact, more mature than a guy in his 40s or 30s or even 50s. There are very mature men out there. And yes, they are men, 21 and up. You're a young man. And you could get it right from the very beginning. Now, the odds are against you because usually there's a lot of immature men at that young age. Of course, that's natural. They are getting to build their confidence and know how to handle a woman or whatnot, but give them a chance if that's what floats your boat. I don't discriminate against people's ages, against one's age. I really don't. If it's legal and the young person says they're all for it, they can do it, give them a shot. You might be surprised. So she's not really stating anything enlightening here. She's just saying that guys in their 40-somethings, life experience and they've probably been broken, or that's not really a good thing. Good luck picking up the pieces with a guy who had his heart broken. That's not always a good thing. I just had to put that out there. Let's go ahead and move on because there's not much to learn from that comment at all. There's no situation or whatnot. It's just... It's not entirely accurate what she stated. Let's go ahead and move on. Ladies, I'm going to give y'all some game. The worst thing you can do when dating a man is show that you entertain other men who are interested in you to any degree. He will automatically put you in the I can't take her seriously category. Yes. Of course you can't take a woman seriously when she's paying attention to other men other than you. What is that? Once again, we're back to a woman who doesn't know what she wants. Regardless of what her age is, by the way. Have to tie that one in. Yeah, well, y'all some game? I mean, I don't know what kind of game. Yeah, sure, but it's not supposed to be a game. Let me give you some wisdom. In case you didn't figure it out for yourself. Absolutely. I mean, who wants a guy going out with a woman and paying attention to all of the other women out there right in front of you? That's a sign of disrespect. You're not focused. That means that the person that you're currently with means pretty much nothing. You're just goofing around. You're not serious. So of course, I can't take her seriously. And it goes both ways. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? That's too easy. Being single makes you realize that most of the fish in the sea aren't worth catching. All right, well, let's be careful with these words here. I mean, being single, you're not supposed to be single for long. The longer you remain single, the harder it's going to be for you to find anyone to potentially be in a relationship with. And the more tempted you'll be to be a loser living single forever because you don't care to improve that part of your life, your love life. You're being lazy. And, one might say, well, having a partner doesn't pay the bills. It's not about paying the bills. Unless you're a gold digger, but that's another topic. But what I'm saying is, life is not about go to work, go home, Netflix and chill, and then rinse and repeat. No, life is about finding your other half of your heart and being together as one, happy, because that's the only way you're going to achieve happiness. Anybody who says otherwise is a loser, is a fool, is not mature. The only way to achieve true happiness in this life is through the power of true love with your partner, your lifelong partner. So you better get to work. Because you can complain about all the fish in the sea and they're not worth catching. You can complain about it all day, but that doesn't solve the problem. I don't care how much you realize how many toxic fish there are in the sea. Don't pay attention to that. That's like saying, I can't win this game because it's too difficult. Well, of course. It's supposed to be a challenge. That's why it's a game. Whether it be a video game or a soccer game, football game, I don't care what it is. Anything requires effort in order to achieve. If you want to achieve something great, which is the greatest achievement of your life, which is attaining true love with a partner who really loves you, genuinely loves you with their heart and soul, and you do to them too. That's the greatest achievement. So all I'm going to do is say, don't be realizing for the rest of your life and live as a loser without anybody by your side. Don't be single for too long. Now, if you need to be single to recuperate, to cure your heart and heal, I get it, yada, yada. That's an exception. All right, last comment of the show. A recent survey study concluded that 1/3 of women have gone on a date just to get a free meal called a foodie call. What? A foodie call? Oh, that's new. Is it ever okay to go on a date just to get a free meal? Of course not. What are you talking about? Why would you even ask that? What do you mean if it's okay to go on a date to get a free meal and call it, oh, it's just a foodie call? And I know they're playing around with foodie like as in booty call for an intimate experience. I get it. But a foodie call? Seriously? A free meal? You can't just go look at some coupons that you get through the mail? Are you really that desperate? Isn't that just wasting the other person's time? And how can that survey be accurate with 1/3 of women? That's a crazy survey, supposedly. I don't really trust that survey, but okay, if this is a new thing with a lot of women accepting dates just to get a free meal, that's really sad. It says everything about them, how immature and what a waste of time. That's a lot of immaturity. Wow, foodie call. Wow, that's one of the most ridiculous comments I've seen on the series so far, I have to say. That's truly sad. Wow, is that the extent of immaturity that we've reached nowadays? Is that how humans are evolving? Now we have foodie calls. There's no longer gold diggers or one night stands. Now we have foodie calls. Wow. Amazing. That's quite an accomplishment, I have to say. 70% of broke boyfriends will dump their girlfriend once they become financially established. They are just with you because you are what they can afford now. Wow, really? I don't know where she got such a statistic from, but I will say this. That's not true. Broke boyfriends? What happened to the love? Where's the love? That's my first question for this woman here. What happened to the love? So you only care about how much money he has in the bank? Is that what you're trying to say? I really doubt, how was such a statistic even conducted? How reliable is this magical statistic, I wonder? Nobody's going to question it because people are afraid to question statistics. Broke boyfriends. From whose perspective? I wonder. So dump their girlfriend once they become financially established. If they're happy, I don't see why they would. Now, if they're with a girlfriend where, she's not just fulfilling his needs, then sure. You guys are still boyfriend, girlfriend. But this actually happens in marriages too, where financial situations change, they adjust, and maybe one or the other is more wealthy and yeah, okay. So your partner might all of a sudden become expendable, you or your partner. But what does that mean? That means that there was never love to begin with. So it's a good thing if you get dumped by your boyfriend, but you should have known better. Because I'll tell you what, when you guys truly fall in love, you guys this would never happen. In the marriage vow, the very famous marriage vow, you say through richness and poor, rich or poor, all that good stuff. Well, that's part of what love is. And, because they're what they can afford now, well, no. Even a high maintenance woman, she should be able to take care of her own needs. If she's high maintenance, she shouldn't rely 100% on her boyfriend or husband. But even if that's the case, if the boyfriend or husband can afford her high maintenance and there's true love in there, I just really highly doubt that somebody's going to leave you just because they're more wealthy. The only way that would happen is if the love is not strong. And that's the responsibility of both partners in a relationship. A couple is very responsible for that possibility, because that means that your relationship is fragile if this sort of thing happens. And it doesn't have to be financial. It could be he meets another woman who's much more exciting on the side. Yes, that happens. I'm not talking about cheating, but somebody, maybe an acquaintance, a co-worker, that sort of thing. Sure, the temptation could be there if the relationship is going south. But whose responsibility is that? Whose fault is that? I'm not putting the blame solely on the woman here. But I will say that if the relationship is not strong, it's both your faults. And I just have to leave it at that, because I don't know where you got 70% from. But this whole focus on finances, they always say, which is true, that financial situations is a major cause of most breakups, especially during the holidays. But that's another conversation for another time. But what I will just say to conclude this comment here, when you guys, I have to repeat it one more time, when you guys are truly in love, there is no way you're going to leave each other. It doesn't matter if you strike the lottery, if you win the lottery, it doesn't matter. If you're everything that he can possibly fantasize and imagine in a woman, 100 women in one, he's not going to leave you. But if you're a lazy, I don't really care, mediocre, I don't want to really, well, then don't be surprised. 70%, right? Or whatever that real percentage is. All right, next comment on the chopping block. I don't argue with people about their dating requirements because that's their preference. As for me, I do not date men who didn't go to college, who don't have a passport. What? Or who grew up without their fathers. I found severe misalignment when any of those are absent. Oh boy. What is this, like ordering a pizza for delivery? What is this? Okay, so you have preferences, but riddle me this. What good is a college degree when it comes to love? There are plenty of people with college degrees. I have a college degree, by the way, a bachelor's degree. But that never changed me as a person, as a passionate man, truly in love. It doesn't matter what kind of degree I have. So my concern is with you. I mean, I know everybody has a right to preference, but really? Who didn't go to college? You'd be surprised how many idiots who graduate college, they haven't learned anything. And I call them idiots because they don't change from I'm not talking about what grades they get, if they passed or whatever. No, no, no. They're still immature. They still don't care about who they're with. And they probably are part of that previous comment, the 70% who will leave their girlfriend once they get the job that college set them up to get, if they're lucky enough, fortunate enough, right? You can't base somebody's loyalty and quality just because they went to college. I'm actually against that type of thing. It doesn't mean the person's going to be more educated. It just means that they passed the tests and they got the grade. They got the degree. That's all it means. All right, so in a passport, how does that change? Wow, I really have to dog down on this preference here. These preferences are really poor. I really have to. It's complete dog water. It's really sad. A passport? Seriously? All right. A passport and a college degree and grow up with, okay, what if their father died? What if I just don't understand these ridiculous requirements here. And this is a serious woman we're talking about. Severe misalignment with any of those that are absent qualities. She really has her head in the sand, I really have to say here. This is absolutely ridiculous. What a circus. Okay, he has no control over if he grew up with the father or not. And many people, like I had a father who was very pathetic when it came to teaching me anything. When it came to wisdom, responsibility, future responsibilities. He pretty much set me up for failure as a father. I had to be my own father and teach myself wisdom and intelligence myself. And I grew up with a mother who turned into a monster in the end. I had to be my own father and in a way my own mother, if you think about it. I had to learn compassion and passion, figure out relationships and love on my own since the age of 13 when I was first curious about it. So this requirement, growing up with a father, without a mother, or any combination you want, it's really stupid. A passport and college degree, my goodness. I can't really say much more than what a just useless comment there. She has her head in the sand. She has no idea what to look for when it comes to love. All right, next comment. 45-year-old single dad in Lulling, LA, taking applications. Oh my goodness. What is he, a product? If any ladies are local and interested. By day, I'm an engineer. By night, a dad teaching kids to paddle and pitch tents. Closing on land in Mississippi. Camping soon. Retirement later. Okay, I don't know what that means. If you're up for adventure and honesty, we'll get along. Message me if interested. Leave your location, age, and a bit about yourself. Here we go to ordering pizzas again. It doesn't work that way, Mr. 45-year-old single dad in Lulling, LA. You need to get your butt outside. It's, you don't just post this nonsense online and then you like you're digitally fishing for women out there. I highly doubt that it's going to work out for you. And at best, you'll get some mediocre, maybe around the same age as you, woman, or a highly interested woman in that retirement fund you got going there. Maybe a gold digger. Pretty much the worst of the worst online. If dating wasn't so bad, how do you think online dating is going to work? It's twice as bad, if not even worse. The gambling of making dating work offline is already a humongous challenge. Most likely it's not going to work no matter who you go out on dates with because you're trying to live life in the fast lane. It doesn't work that way. It's friendship. Get to know each other. Not dating. But people who insist on being stubborn and learning the hard way, running into the, head first into a titanium wall, a 10-foot thick titanium wall, and then they don't even know what to do next. These are the type of people right here. Completely just oblivious to the amount of ridiculousness in just posting stuff like this online, digitally fishing for women. It's not going to happen. And if you get anybody who bites on that hook of yours, it's, it's not going to go well. But go ahead and learn the hard way. My goodness. What a circus. All right, next comment. Me trying to find my soulmate without going out, not on any apps, while barely shooting my shot and never taking DMs seriously. All right, direct messages, right? Okay, this looks funny. I get it. You got Professor Xavier there from the X-Men. I understand. It's pretty much a joke. But it's not a joke because it does apply in real life. You don't find your soulmate. That's not how it works. You find somebody who has what it takes to go above and beyond and ultimately, hopefully, reach a soulmate status with you. But you won't know until you try, but you have to have the right candidate. But you don't go fishing for them online, and this person, scared of going out and trying to make it happen, I'm glad that he's not on dating apps. Good for you. But not going out because you're scared? You have to defeat your own fears first before you even think about going out there and trying to meet somebody. If you're too scared, forget about it. You'll probably be a loser forever. All alone, stuck with video games, movies, and that's about it. That's all he wrote. So barely shooting my shot, never taking DMs seriously. Okay, but that applies to apps as well. So social media apps, it's all the same. It's all digital nonsense. Okay, so you got to get... There's another guy right here. Probably a younger guy from what I sense here. Just being absolutely fearful of going out there instead of posting stuff like this because he's posting a joke. The other guy, the 45-year-old, is being serious, posting pretty much asking for resumes as applicants to see if they make a good match, and that doesn't work either. So you got a young guy and an older guy both goofing around. One's serious, one's joking around. So most likely they're going to end up losers forever at that rate. All right, last comment of the show. How we pose to build anything real when people so quick to give up nowadays. All right, as grammatically grotesque as that is, it's true. It's true. You know, everybody's giving up nowadays. It's a complete state of chaos. It's the dystopian reality that the world is in right now. Now, granted, I wouldn't say every single country and every continent, because it's impossible to be everywhere at once and know exactly what's going on in the realm of dating and love everywhere. You know, the misery and fiasco that dating is, because it is a problem worldwide. But as far as the dating realm, no, it's hard to say. You have traditional countries with traditional folks who do it their way. I find it to be mostly mediocre. No offense to those traditions, but it's got to be spicy. It's got to be hot. But it's also got to be very intelligent and wise. The type of love that you build and maintain forever. But unfortunately, there's lots of abuse worldwide. There's lots of mediocre relationships. They just go through the motions. They don't really feel true love. A lot of people fall in and out of love. And then they realize that they were never really truly in love to begin with. Sparks, not a constant flame. The way it should be. So yes, especially in the United States, it's pathetic. It's absolutely in the wastelands. It's a landfill of laziness, of ignorance, of weakness. Utter, complete weakness. Too afraid to talk about relationships in a serious manner. Too afraid to go out there and try to find the right person. And just because they failed with one or two or three or a handful of women or men, they still give up. Because, the only person they're giving up on is themselves. And then they play the coping game by whining and complaining online 24/7 or whenever they get a chance to participating in the foolish gender war, saying it's all women's fault, it's all men's fault. It's just immaturity galore. The United States is, I would have to say, notoriously known for a bunch of failures when it comes to the realm of love. It's an absolute snooze fest as well. For the relationships that they say are working, there's probably just a few, I would say, in the grand scheme of things. I'm not going to put that into numbers because that's pretty much not possible to do. I would just say the majority of relationships by far are in a state of chaos. With the divorce rate, with the breakup rate, with the gender war, it's like a bonfire with the gender war. Nothing but immaturity and ignorance and weakness everywhere. So do with that as you will, but that's my solid opinion. I've seen so many more cases around me with real love going on in Europe, but not everybody. There's lots of mediocre relationships over here too. But what I will say is that I would take Europe over the United States any day, because at least you have the majority of people far more mature when it comes to talking about relationships, being serious about relationships, and seeking help when it comes to relationships. Yeah, absolutely. Europe takes the cake. They take the trophy. The United States, like I said, it's a wasteland of everything negative you can possibly imagine. So this comment right here, she's just wondering why people are so quick to give up nowadays. Well, think about it. They don't go to the gym. They don't eat healthy. The majority of people in the United States, I would say. And they don't practice what they preach. They're strong in some areas in their work. A lot of them, and then maybe in the gym too, but when it comes to love, they're totally just completely weak. I mean, they just get bulldozed, and then they'll whine and complain about it. So it's a mess, it really is. So that's the answer to that question, as best as I can answer it. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say otherwise, but it's not looking good, especially when you go online. Oh my goodness, what a circus. And what a snooze fest too, because all I see online are just people complaining about their past failures and complaining about things that they haven't even tried yet. Solutions wise, they just make a bad situation worse. I found few posts related to male loneliness epidemic posted by female influencers. The funniest part about the male loneliness epidemic posts is that men don't even know it exists. But somehow women who've never lived a man's life know exactly what men are going through more than men themselves. Reality. Men don't even care. They are living happily. Men aren't crying on social media about any loneliness epidemic. It's the women who are crying for men more than men themselves. Actually, I have to disagree. There is, in fact, a male loneliness epidemic. And it's twofold. You have a bunch of men, and I really do use that word lightly, men, because it is tons of immaturity and fear. A real man stands up to his fears and is mature, takes things seriously, takes life by the horns and makes things happen. That's a real man. So it's twofold. You have a bunch of men who are paralyzed with fear, living at home in what I call Groundhog Day, every day, the same routine. Okay, they're safe and sound. Maybe they have a stable job, a stable income, and they're just taking care of themselves. That's okay. You can do that for a few years if you really need to. But you should be focused on finding that perfect potential partner. And that's where we have the problem, because it's twofold because then you have the other group of men who are a bunch of fools and they're weak-minded, they're weak-spirited, and they say, well, I don't need a woman in my life to be happy. You can tell already. The proof is in the pudding. Take a look at this long comment. Number one, it's really long because they got triggered by hearing male loneliness epidemic. That was a trigger. Look how he capitalized it. The proof is in the pudding. And he constantly puts it in quotes. He's being sarcastic. He's triggered. It really touched the nerve. It really did. Because he's one of them. And he puts laughing emojis, but we all know he's not laughing. Now, those of you out there who actually agree with this person here, I'm not going to call him a real man because that's not what real men do. You know, if you want to call him this guy right here, if you agree with him, then you're just part of the problem. Your own problem, by the way. Not my problem or other men who are successful with their relationship, their lifelong relationship. You're not part of our problem. You guys are just making it worse for yourselves because you're living in denial. Understand? I mean, look what he says here. Reality. So he's trying to convince himself that he's not part of this group. But look how passionate he is. You know, people always have to expose themselves. Men don't even care. It looks like you care enough to write all of this in a sarcastic tone. So you do care. And you don't sound too happy about it because you're pretending to be happy with the laughing emojis. But look how sarcastic you are with all the quote marks. And then you have to say men aren't crying on social media. That's exactly what you're doing. You're crying on social media about it. You know, so you didn't have to say anything. If you didn't care, you wouldn't say anything. And if you're saying, you know, men aren't crying, but here you are crying about it. Because look at all this goofiness and sarcasm. And then you have to say, of course, participate in the foolish gender war because he's immature and sad. It's the women who are crying for men more than men themselves. Okay, do you have any statistical proof for that? Or you're just talking out of you know where? You are talking about out of you know where. You know that. Anyways, so there is a loneliness epidemic because they prove it all the time. I constantly see lots of males complain on social media every single day on social media. And I see lots of females. These are people who don't deserve to be called real men and women. They do not represent the definition of what a decent man or woman should be. All they do is cry on social media, and a lot of them live in denial like this guy right here, this goofball. He's saying, oh no, you know, all the men are happy. This doesn't happen. It's not true. Who are you trying to convince? He says, somehow women who've never lived a man's life, obviously that's a no-brainer. Even a child understands that a man can't live a woman's life and a woman can't live a man's life. That's ridiculous. And to know what men are going through, that means you're going through miserable times. You see that? And then he says the funniest part about the male, there's nothing funny about it. This is actually a reality for lots of males out there. They're going to live in denial. They're going to say, oh no, I'm not lonely. I'm so happy. And then the lonely females are going to do the same thing. Oh, I'm happy. I'm so happy. I don't need a guy. I don't need a man in my life. I have my pet cat or pet dog. I'm happy. No, you're not. You know, the people who have to shout the most, saying that they're happy constantly and nothing bothers them when obviously it does, those are the miserable ones. All right, so like I said, the proof is in the pudding. So this guy did a personal expose on himself. You see how that works? And that's part of what people call the loneliness epidemic. Why are they on social media 24/7 always with these sarcastic fake attitudes of they're laughing when they're not? These are the people who cry themselves to sleep every night on a daily basis. And they go out into the world, they put on a fake smile and they say, I'm totally fine, I'm happy, I don't need a woman, I don't need a man. Give me a break. So to me, it's kind of funny, but it's always going to be a sad case because they're only wasting time, precious time of their life, living in denial, acting like a goofball, totally immature. And then they're going to be very upset once they get called out on it. And then they're going to respond with anger because they're miserable. All right, let's go ahead and move on, shall we? I deleted my dating apps. Time to get some hobbies. Laughing out loud. Here's another goofball, but on the female side. You're not laughing out loud. It's great that you deleted your dating apps. But now you're time to get some hobbies. Okay, what's the actual correct choice here? Time to actually go outside and meet real men that deserve my attention and see if I can establish a successful friendship with one of them that I find attractive and whom I like how he speaks. You see, that's productive. But go ahead and fool around with some hobbies, but all you're doing is you're filling in the blank, the void that you should know better, but you're scared to fill it in. You're scared to do something about it. You're a coward. This is a female coward. And the guys out there who follow the same, it's just the same meaningless, lifeless routine. They fill in their empty lives with video games, movies, going out with the boys, and pretending to be happy when they know they're not. And the boys don't even care about them if they have somebody to love for the rest of their lives. They don't care. They'll ask them, hey, have you found somebody yet? No, I'm good. And they're living in denial. It's the same circus on both sides. And they have their meaningless hobbies. Now, like I said before, if you need time alone for a couple of years, a few years, go ahead, take time alone. But you got to get back in there because you'll never be happy until you develop a truly loving relationship, a lifelong relationship with the other half of your heart. And they're out there somewhere. And if you laugh at that, if you say that's BS, if you disagree, there's no hope for you. At least not at the moment. And you can live in denial for the rest of your life saying, oh yeah, go ahead, waste your precious life with your hobbies. You're going to be one of those old people on their final deathbed regretting all those decades that you've wasted of your life in denial. Because in the end, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, you have lied to everybody. And the most important person that you lied to is yourself by saying that you're happy when you know you're not. But some people are so stubborn that even in the last moments of their life, they'll still deny it. They'll say, I lived the happiest life possible. So the last person that they attempt to fool is themselves. But they know deep down inside they can't even fool themselves. It's pathetic. It really is. You know, wasting precious life saying, I don't need love. Okay. Wow. That's part of being toxic, but not to the people. It's to yourself. You're ruining your own life. You did it to yourself. Essentially, you're falling on your own sword and calling it a war. Yeah, a war with yourself. You're your greatest enemy. How about that? All right, next comment. This is exactly why I'm single. All right, let's see what kind of reason he has. I can't engage in coochie. Wow. Okay, Immatureville. Here we are. We've entered the city of immaturity. I can't engage in coochie with an expired warranty. Okay, so women are nothing but property. Just like what a lot of women who are, you know, mostly on the toxic side assume about men in a toxic way. You know, men treat them like sexual objects and nothing more. Well, here you go, ruining it for a lot of other guys out there, giving a bad image for all men out there so that the immature women can become more toxic about it. And yeah, they have a right to say so, but also they shouldn't be saying it just because it exists. There's toxic men and there's toxic women. You know, I have to use the term men and women because otherwise it gets exhausting saying people who don't deserve to be called men and women every single time. All right, so sleeping with multiple people is not a flex. You're dirty. No, I agree. A high body count doesn't mean that you're dirty. Everybody takes showers. What are you talking about? What I will agree with is you're dealing with somebody who doesn't know what they want. And yeah, a guy or a woman sleeping around with multiple people, that's not a win. That's not a flex. That just means that you don't know how to look for the right person. You know, I had 31 flavors. I had blondes, brunettes, redheads. I've had tall and short, you know, shorties and tall, you know, whatever it is. You know, tennis players, and I got that booty, blah, 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 the coochie. You see all this immaturity? They never grow up. And then, but the women do the same thing, a lot of them. They do the same thing. There's immaturity on both sides. You know, I don't need blank in my life. Talking about the male genitalia. I don't need that. I got my vibrator, blah, blah, blah. It's just so ridiculous. But that's what's out there, sadly enough. And then people actually support this fiasco, this circus. It's unbelievable. You know, it's like the future never arrives for humanity. It's just stuck in the circus that, you know, the tent is collapsing on itself, on all the people inside of it. And then the worst part is they just insist that the show must go on in the darkness. They don't know any better. All right, next comment. Men always tell women to pick better. So, wow, here we go. When will men start addressing those men that should not be picked? Okay, is that our responsibility to do so? Is he already starting to lose me? This woman here. When will men start calling out those actions as not acceptable? Which actions? Instead of hot and behind the phrase, real men don't do that. I have no idea what you're talking about. When will men start holding these men accountable? We're not other men's fathers. What are you talking about? For their actions, because saying that women should pick better men, well, you should, is accepting and acknowledging that those men are in fact wrong. Which men are you talking about? I mean, you know, this is a sad result of when women just lose their mind. They just complete, like what are you even talking about? What are you complaining about? Look at this big paragraph. Does any of this make sense to you? Let's give it a second shot. Because I'm actually, this is probably one of the worst comments of the entire series so far as not making any sense whatsoever. They're so toxic. They're so immature. They're so messed up mentally and emotionally that they don't even know what they're putting down on paper. It doesn't matter if this is digitally. Their mind is all over the place. Men always tell women to pick better. And then she repeats that. Women should pick better men. Okay, what's wrong with that? That's accepting responsibility for yourself. If you don't know how to pick a good candidate to potentially become your partner, hopefully for a lifetime, that's on you. Nobody's there to monitor your decisions. And then she says, when will men start addressing those men that should not be picked? What are you talking about? They're just bad guys that you shouldn't pick. That's not our responsibility to let you know. We're not going to chaperone you and hold your hand throughout your entire life and say, hey, lady, I don't think you should go with so-and-so. It's called being a grown adult and choosing for yourself. What are we talking about here? You see, I'm not wrong when I talk about the mass immaturity and ignorance that's out there. People don't even know what they're looking for. They don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know what the word love really means. They just see, yeah, I'm going to hook up and have some coochie and I'm going to have some blank, get the stick, ride that disco stick. It's just like, that's the level of ignorance and immaturity that we're dealing with. When will men start calling out those? Why do we have to call out the actions of the bad guys, the bad boys that you chose to be with? Of course it's not acceptable that they use and abuse you. But who's responsible for that? Ultimately, you are, right? You're responsible for your own actions. Not other men and not other women to your left and right. Newsflash, that's not how life works. Not your family, not your friends, not your coworkers, any acquaintance or strangers. Nobody else except for you. You're responsible. So that's another failure to take accountability for your own actions. Instead of hot and behind the phrase, real men don't do that. Well, of course, real men will treat you with respect and honor and compassion, all the good stuff. Anything good. That's what real men do, and they speak up about love and relationships. They don't stay quiet. They're not the bad guys. They don't act like the bad boys that many toxic women gravitate to. When will men start holding? No, nobody's gonna. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Absolutely ridiculous. That comment. That's a toxic, messed up, mentally and emotionally messed up woman right there. A female, actually. If anybody deserves to be called a female, it's that person. All right, last comment of the show. We as women sit on the internet all day. I would hope not. You need to find better use of your time, lady. Bashing men about their behavior. But the moment a man has a question about women and their behavior, the world wants them to shut up. It's because, well, toxic people want them to shut up on both sides. It's because you don't like to be addressed about doing the exact things men do, or worse, and you want tolerance and claps for your ways, your bad ways. Okay, we'll substitute that word. While men get beaten down for theirs. You want men to accept your poor behavior, and if they don't, it's, he can't handle me. Do some men suck? Hell yeah. Wow, you just killed it. But some women do too, so stop. Okay, well, yeah, I guess you could say that. If you want to go that drastic, some men suck. Okay, there's bad men, there's bad women. I get it. But nobody's getting beat down. It's just a bunch of noise, a bunch of interference from what should be the main picture here. This whole paragraph is trying to defend men from toxic women online, but it's stating the obvious. Number one, the obvious is toxic women are never going to listen to you. They're just going to be like, how about you shut up? We can bash men all we want because we suffered. And we need to dish out suffering on any man because all men are the same. They all deserve it. Blah, 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 blah. So you're kind of just crying into the wind here. You're not exactly crying, but at this point, you know, you have to acknowledge, because you're going the opposite direction. You can't do a U-turn at the very end of this long paragraph and say, do some men suck? Hell yeah. What is that? That's like partial bashing of men? You can't just say that there's toxic men out there, yes. You just have to say suck and hell yeah. You went from a mostly mature perspective, and then you went completely immature at the end. But some women do too, so stop. You can't stop the actions of everybody else. You can't. You can't. Just like I can give the best relationship advice, but I'm not going to sit around holding my breath waiting for people to actually take it and run with it and do something positive with their lives. Especially for the people who are full of fear. They can't speak up. They just smash that repeat button of misery every single day. And it's all on them. I can't help them. I can't help those who don't want to help themselves, who aren't ready to help themselves. I can only help those who want to listen to somebody who's successful with their relationship and pass that knowledge on to others so that they, after they become successful, can help others become successful. That's the way humanity is supposed to operate, is supposed to live. Unfortunately, there's so much ignorance and immaturity out there, lack of wisdom, lack of intelligence, everybody out for themselves. Everybody wants to whine and complain and tell everybody who's trying to speak some positivity into their lives to shut up, right? So it's easier to complain and to do nothing versus to try to do something to help out society in general and to actually help others succeed with their lives in the realm with relationships. Yeah, it is more challenging, but I gladly accept the challenge. So let's go ahead and move on, shall we? I mean, it wasn't that much of a circus, this show, but it can be for sure. So some of those comments are absolutely beyond ridiculous. It is. it never ceases to amaze me just how far down these comments can go.